Ah, be back. Hope you all feeling well. Um, but thanks for being here. Thank you, Ace Man, for being around, and thank you, Path Test. My New Year's resolution is to be nicer towards Hunter Biden. Okay. um. Oh God. Uh. So many thoughts. So many thoughts. And we'll be covering those thoughts. So it'll be great. Okay, let's get everything set up. We got people here. Ready to go. Ready to attack. Really excited to talk to the boys again. Miss them. Hey.
Good evening. Everyone's like muted or everyone's present, but nobody has sound or whatnot. I don't.
Welcome.
How's
No.
it going?
Yeah.
Going well.
Yeah, I'm here.
Happy Cyber Monday, I guess. I don't know.
That's an American holiday.
For sure. You know what I mean? The American
You should
tradition
tell
of
all the
consumerism.
retailers up here in Canada with all their signs, Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Because it's definitely a thing here that we've co-opted.
I mean, it's great. It's just, it's a great way to get those sales in right before the end of the fiscal year. Well, I guess it's beginning of the fiscal year, but
Yeah, when they advertise on their website, they slash the regular price and they say, "Oh, Black Friday price," same thing, basically. At least, some of the things that I've seen.
Yeah,
Pretty
you definitely
bizarre.
have to do your fucking research because they'll definitely raise prices just to slash prices, and you'll end up with products that are sometimes even more expensive on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But for the most part, you can get some good deals.
No, literally,
Like this camera that I got. I've switched from a webcam to a fucking DSLR.
So as an example of Canadians, participating in Cyber Monday and Black Friday, no surprise, I order supplements. I'll plug CanadianProtein.com, and so I have an order history there, and they advertise their Black Friday deals, but I can go and check my order history, and I ordered this product 2 months ago, and it was cheaper back then on this Black Friday sale. It's 20% off, and it's we cut the prices, and I can check my order history, by the way, and it's it was cheaper 2 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, tech is about the only thing that is legitimately across the board less expensive on Black Friday, right? Because I mean, when you're talking about physical products, especially tech products, right? This is one of the few industries where prices just keep falling, right? I mean, the price. I mean, a flat screen TV in the '90s was $8,000 back then, right? Whereas now you can go to Walmart and you can buy a Roku, a cheap, or a Vizio, a cheap smart TV.
Wait a minute, that's only true in the long term, though, right? So, I was doing shopping, I guess earlier today, at the Wii.
Yeah, it's obviously not
right?
true in the month to month, but
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I was going on. So I was on Newegg.com. I was trying to get some electronics, actually, right? So got to get spy cameras for.
I suppose what else would you buy on Newegg?
The sex robots aren't out yet, Brian.
The sex robots right there. But anyway, yeah, that's what I mean. I was there and I was looking at the prices on the website for the products I was looking for. But then I also just went to the retailers, right? And the Newegg was saying, well, this is a price cut, right? But on the retailer side, it's there's no sale here. Right? There's no sale, and the prices were the same. And I think if I had looked at, because well, one thing, I was gonna buy the products I was looking for pretty much any which way. I was just hoping to find a deal, but I didn't really find much of a deal this weekend, because I just needed to get them. I've been waiting for literally months to looking for that. But in any case, I was hoping for a deal. If I looked at the long-term price, there wouldn't have been much of a fluctuation. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually went up. But yeah, it's be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, you have to do your research. I'm just saying that, generally speaking, tech products are cheaper on Cyber Monday and Black Friday, as opposed to a lot of other products.
They got a 70-inch TV at Walmart for $300 now. 70-inch, like HD, like 4K. I'm like, that's crazy. I remember I paid for my like 55-inch like a couple years ago. It was like $2,200. Yeah, it was like $2,200 for a 55
of the price when they first launched, right?
That's nuts.
I mean, but that's the thing is that like tech products are like, I don't want to say infinitely, but they're damn near infinitely scalable, right? You know what I mean? Like when you're a teacher, right? This is part of cost disease socialism, but I mean, I won't get into that too much. But like when you're a teacher, for example, well, it's not made up. It's you can look it up. It's an economic term. It's fine. But like cost.
It is. It was just brought up at a humorous time, I would say.
Well, I'm just saying like this is the difference between scalability of labor, right? Like a teacher for like a middle school class, right? You can use technology so that they can effectively teach better, but it's difficult with all of the technology that we have to get a teacher to meaningfully teach more than like 30 kids, right? Like it's with all of the tech resources available to you, it's still difficult to do that, right? But if I invent a product like a tech product, right? You know, the limitation to my tech product is how many can we manufacture and how many humans exist that may find a use for this product in the world and potentially purchase more than one of said product, right? So like if I'm building, let's say Google Home, right? I could potentially, there are houses that are going to want 5 or 6 of them. So I come out at one price,
spy microphones,
right? And
to be able to distribute across the world.
Yeah, I agree. But like I can set them at one price, and if I can find a way to make it cheaper through the manufacturing process, right? Then I open up to a larger market of people that didn't value it highly enough at the old price, but at the new price do. And so I can reduce my rate of profit, right? Like this is essentially this is how Walmart operates, right? Walmart makes like 2 pennies. Well, it's not quite economies of scale, but sure. It kind of is, but regardless, like the more you make of a product, the more you sell in a period of time, then the lower the price can be and the lower amount of profit you need, right? So like when you talk about Walmart, they make like 2 to 3 cents of profit on an item sold. Okay, like when people talk about like, oh, these corporations, they jack up the prices massively. Like Walmart that's selling something for like $4.99, they're taking home literally pennies on the dollar. Not even pennies on the dollar, less than a penny per dollar in pure profit. But if you go to any Walmart and when they're busy, watch how many products get sold in an hour at just that one Walmart, right? You'll see thousands of products get sold, and that's like $2,000-$3,000 of like pure profit an hour when they're busy, right? Like that's the goal. And so it's just very interesting, like when you look at prices on things and how they change, the more scalable a product is, and the more a product is able to be sold, you know, to a larger range of people, then the more likely you are to find like a good deal on like Cyber Monday or Black Friday or something, because they can really reduce the price by a pretty significant amount, and just pump out and manufacture more and more and more and more.
Agreed. No.
Yeah.
God bless capitalism.
Capitalism is amazing. It is the
I don't
only
buy shit unless I
justifiable
need
economic.
It.
Well, I mean, sometimes you hold off on
like
buying something for Black Friday, like this camera, right? Like, do I need a DSLR camera? No, but it is an upgrade to the stream. It is an investment. I waited until a Cyber Monday, Black Friday deal to buy it because, you know, I knew that I could potentially save money.
It's also a tax write-off. It's a tax write-off.
I'm in the same boat, and yes, it is a tax write-off. But Lagtoid, how many guns do you need?
More. I'll answer that more.
So need?
Yeah,
need. There's no need cap on guns, right? It is
because you don't know how many guns you need until you need them. And let me tell you what, it's better to have more than you need than less than you need.
I am dangerously undergunned right now, Prime.
Amen.
Okay? Dangerously.
You don't even
never have enough.
Lactoid, do you even have a gun in every room of your home?
Just a gun.
I have more than enough to fit in every gun in the home, unless you're the ATF
Every
watching,
gun.
in which case I gave them all away by the time you get to my house.
They fell in the lake.
Yeah, of course.
Ah!
Exactly.
You took
but-
them on an offshore fishing trip.
But do you also
Yeah,
have
oof.
them like strapped to every table right underneath, so that like at any point in time within like a 4 feet radius, you can lean over and grab one? I mean, do you
Hold on.
have that?
Let me make
Might not
this.
be-
Let me
I-
make this very. Hold on. Let me make this very clear. As per my child custody agreement with, that is a legal binding document. The only firearms that I own in this home are indeed locked. Okay, and I am following the law, and I'm not memeing here. All right, it sucks, but that is the agreement that I am in. Okay.
Let me ask this. There's
I'm
more
not that to
interesting
Lactoid
question.
though, but Lactoid.
Yeah, so hypothetically
I was like,
speaking,
hold on. I had to
if
say.
if I was somebody who did own guns, hypothetically speaking, of course, I would probably be the kind of person that would have guns in various locations around my house potentially. To
The theoretical
respond.
house.
The
The
theoretical
theoretical guns in a theoretical house.
Well, the house
Included.
isn't theoretical. I own the house, and so
I want to know. Wait, how many of y'all don't actually have a shower gun? Like that's the question.
I don't have a, or
I do not. I don't.
I don't have a shower
You
gun.
understand
I
the
can say that
situation
honestly.
I'm in, Admiral Gibbs, right?
My
Like,
shower gun is my
there are
penis.
things that I would like to do, but in
Well,
order
you
to
have a reasonable
maintain-
excuse, yeah. But like the
Right,
rest of
yeah.
y'all, what are y'all gonna do when someone's busts in on y'all when you're taking a
Wait a
shit?
minute, Hold on. Is it reasonable? I mean, Scott, is it reasonable? So you said
This is a
like
good
you know, according to your custody that agreement, right? That you have to have them locked up, right, within some sort of locking mechanism, right? Would
Yeah.
that locking mechanism include those ones like those bed locks, you know, that are on the bed frame that you kind of reach down and grab, right? Would that be covered?
I have. So, I mean, obviously, I don't talk about it a ton, but I have like a nonverbal autistic son, right?
Mhm.
So it is imperative that anything like a firearm is not easily or readily accessible within my home, right? You know, if my situation was different, the way that I arm myself would be different. Like, yes, I am armed, but like, you know, it takes me a minute to get to my guns, and that's unfortunate, but also, you know, that is.
No, I
That
understand
is
that. I'm
probably
saying like
necessary.
I'm just trying to understand. I know, I get that. I'm saying that what's covered, right? Because like if that is an effective gun locking mechanism,
They have to be in a gun safe. They have
they
to
have
be in
to
a
be
gun
literally
safe.
in a box, right? Rather than
Yes.
any other type of mechanism. Okay, never mind.
Shower
Yeah.
guns, boys, get them. Don't need them.
I have 0 guns.
But yeah, like I think you are fucking insane if you don't have a firearm in your home. That is
I want to quickly
that is
say
like
something.
crazy to me.
So I don't have any firearms, but hypothetically, if I did, Gibbs was really spitting before when he was talking about having a bathroom gun, and hypothetically, I would consider doing that very soon.
Yeah, I suggest multiple. One underneath the sink. You got one in a plastic bag in your toilet, and then you got one at the top.
No,
and then
wait,
one,
wait, wait,
one
wait,
in a
wait,
box
wait.
in your shower.
Yeah,
These are the three. Because if they hit you over the head and you're like holding on to the toilet, surprise! Or you fall over and you're on the ground, bang! Or they bust in on you in the shower. You got the shower box.
You fall down, you reach underneath the tank, and then you pull out. Yeah.
You're like, what's
Like,
up,
yeah,
bitches?
as
This is what
normal,
happens.
yeah.
See, Admiral
For
Gibbs,
you.
Admiral Gibbs clearly used to be an alcoholic, and he had to change his life, and he replaced
I
all of
used
the
to be.
places that he hid his alcohol with firearms.
Used
right?
to be.
And that's why he's got a toilet.
Used
That's
to
why
be.
he's got a toilet
Yeah.
gun. You know.
That's
So-
the only issue, right?
I
I
hide
don't-
the alcohol for
If he
myself. is the
reaches
thing.
for the pistol, right, he might accidentally pull out the whiskey bottle, but he can use that too, right? In a pinch.
Sometimes the bottle is
Um,
shaped like it. We use like super soakers.
Here's what I think is genuinely justifiable. I think it's justifiable to have a bedroom gun, obviously, a gun by the door, a gun by your desk, a bathroom gun. Now I'm convinced about that one, but I think that's where else? I think that's probably good, right?
On the inside of every
A
doorway.
gun under
couch gun.
Your
uh,
powder room gun, obviously.
Definitely
I
the
guess,
powder room gun. That's for sure.
Wait,
How
What,
did
a
you,
powder
how did you
gun? Powder
manage
room?
to make gun ownership gay? Like powder room gun?
It's a joke. You understand? I understand you don't
hold-
understand
hold-
humor,
wait,
Scott,
wait.
but that's a joke.
Hold on, Fabian. Hold on. Wait. Listen,
Yeah,
I know
that was
that
also
gay
a
people
joke.
use powder rooms, but I think everybody likes a little bit of powder now and again. All right,
Oh,
calm
okay.
down.
What about a gun under?
That's
We're
when
not
you
on the
replace
second.
alcohol
We're not
with.
on the main topic yet, Admiral Gibbs.
Why not a gun
Yeah.
underneath your baby's crib? right? Now your baby isn't mobile, right? Like,
Yeah, pick up
it's
the baby,
just
pop
laying
him.
there, and you never
I've
know
got a
when
very-
that might come through.
I mean,
Yeah, I've got a very good answer to that. I don't have a baby.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying when you somehow convince a lady to like
buy a crib and just
conceive
have a
with you.
gun in a
I only engage in reasonable hypotheticals, Brian.
True.
Yeah, actually, put the gun in the swaddle the gun and make him think you have a
Lactoid
baby. Let
doesn't-
me take care of my
Lactoid
baby.
doesn't-
It's a fake gun. It's a fake baby.
Lactoid doesn't engage in co-sleeping with infants with his infant, but he does engage in co-sleeping with his gun.
Probably safer, honestly.
Yeah,
I feel like I just
And
told
by the way,
goalposts to the joke.
safety's overrated.
Not
Seriously.
bad.
So like Scott, you think it's crazy? Like for me, I don't own a gun because I feel like I'd be an irresponsible gun owner. I'm gonna be factual.
How would you be irresponsible? I mean,
So like based on what I've seen,
I would scratch my
I'd
nose
probably
on
like toy with it a lot, right? Like take it out when it's not supposed to be out and such.
flip it.
Or like for example, situation that happened yesterday morning. I was driving to a wedding venue location, and I as I'm driving, people were trying to merge lanes. Dude behind me beeped. I beeped. My fiance's in the car. She starts yelling at him. He pulls over, gets out of the car. Now I have to get out of the car. There's a lot of altercations.
That's
I mean,
that's why you need the gun.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
life lost, brother. That's a
What do you-
life lost.
why
That's not
did you-
good.
Well, I mean, so
Just get a
let's
shillelagh.
engage
That's way
honestly
more
with-
intimidating.
let's
See, I'm
engage
like
honestly
a
with the
bat
question.
guy. I have a bat in every room.
Yeah,
Oh my,
shillelagh.
no,
Get out with a
you're
shillelagh,
gonna
be like,
die.
yeah.
You're gonna die.
American?
No,
I am for who is attacking me, bro?
someone with a gun and you got a bat.
Why? Okay,
Why-
Well, but
why
that's
if
what
you
he.
don't
But
get-
that's what he.
Why in
get
America?
because we
Why
know
in
you're
America would
unarmed,
somebody
but-
attack me with a gun? I can't.
I mean, Lactoid, within
why
20
is
feet,
someone
that would be
attacking
better.
me? Is more of the
Because you
question,
live in
bro.
America. You live in a place where people will attack you with guns occasionally.
Do you think?
So
is
let me-
that- is
let
this
me-
like a
let me-
common occurrence for you? You
sociologic.
get attacked
Let me-
with guns?
Let me
I get
let me,
attacked by
let
hobos
me
randomly.
tell you
Before in
why.
his life, but he's
Gibbs
never
has been
done
attacked
that
by a
at some
hobo.
point.
Multiple
Yeah, go ahead,
times.
So
Scott.
sociologic, right? Ali, you asked me why do I think it's crazy not
Yeah.
to have a gun, and then your response is, well, personally, under my personal experience, I feel like the temptation of having a firearm might lead me to engage in violent acts. Or escalate violent acts that do occur in my life, so I feel safer knowing that I don't have immediate access to instantly life-ending means. So I do understand that, and I do understand that rationale. But the issue is that when I make the general claim you're crazy not to have a gun, the retort is I personally have an issue with me being responsible, right? So it's not really an argument as far as I'm concerned, because you should be responsible, right? It is from a conservative perspective. When we talk about gun ownership, the default is you ought to be a responsible gun owner that trains in your firearm, that occasionally uses your firearm at a range, that engages occasionally in practicing drawing your firearm, especially if you're going to be open carrying or concealed carrying. You are practiced in those
Don't
situations.
open carry.
So I would like to amend my statement. I don't want to say it's crazy that you don't own a gun. I will amend it so that, because there's a presumption baked in. It's crazy that you don't own a gun and are a responsible gun owner.
Well,
Those two things kind of go hand in hand, and you ought to do both of those things. And it's a very small time investment in order to be at a level of proficiency where you can protect yourself and your family in situations. Because I agree with you that there are situations where you might aggress and where you might feel like you might escalate a situation, right? But the thing is that there are also situations that can occur where without a firearm, there is no other alternative. You are essentially fucked no matter what you do.
better to have one than to not, I guess, is like the rationale. And I guess I get that rationale, but I feel like this anecdotally, I mean, I've had so few occurrences, if ever even occurrence, where like I've interacted
It
with
only
someone
takes
who's-
one. That's the problem
That
with
is-
something like this.
That is really the argument. It's like you don't know, it's chaotic, it's random, so it could be at any point in time. So I think it's fair.
Right.
I mean,
if you want
I'll-
recommendations on any
I'll
guns,
say this
those
though. This is
let me know.
something that bothered me about what you
people
just
don't-
said.
Oh,
Lee.
I've gone to the range.
don't
I've shot
survive
many
those
guns. I know
situations.
how to use a gun, take care of a gun, clean gun. It's just me
This is-
personally. It's just like
This is very like
you
I
get out
gotta
of
be
your car.
honest.
We're gonna have a an issue, and
Well,
I'd
hold
rather
on.
have my
I
fist.
get road rage all the time, and I've never once been like, "We're gonna pull the gun out." I'll say this. This is how I know that you're somewhat leftist.
It wasn't me.
Because
It
this is a
wasn't
bit-
road rage. Wait.
Yeah, but
Who-
I'll
do
tell you
that out of the car.
Hold on. Listen, I'm just
Now
playing
we're
with you. Hold on.
leftist.
Hold on. Just how this story went. This is how leftist thing. You definitely pulled the "I'll just see red, bro" kind of thing, or you were like, "Oh, I'd play with it." I know that I've never once. I've gone to many friends. I'm in Texas. Everybody likes to show off their guns. I don't even like when my friends are like, "Here, why don't you just hold my gun? You want to check it out? Oh, I got a new scar or something." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't want to touch your gun. Like, I don't even want to play with it because, like, hey, what if they kill somebody? My handprints on this. Or what if I actually hold it? There's got a gut shaped bullet in there,
you're
and they didn't leave the
responsible.
safety on it. And I shot myself. Like, you never know. Like, people don't maybe not be responsible with their guns. Like, somebody else would just. I don't even want to touch it because who knows? Maybe I drop it. And oh, I shot somebody. Like, there's all sorts of shit. Like,
playing with your own gun though, and like
No, there are-
disassembling it, and reassembling
I've
it.
witnessed that.
So much
I've
fun.
witnessed that more than often. I've
Yeah.
witnessed
I'm
people be
wait, I'm not
fucking-
saying be
fucking
reckless.
with their guns more than often, where they're
I mean,
like,
I
it's
don't
empty.
even-
There's no. It's not loaded,
Yeah,
bro.
let me clarify.
Treat it like it is.
I didn't even
Let me-
wager. I'm the
let me
most
clarify.
pro 2A guy here on the panel, and that's if you're not a Texan, you're like I don't even carry a gun, but I carry a hunting knife. What
Stop.
yeah, I'll tell
Gibbs.
you what. Okay, did you know, Lactoid, within 20 feet, a knife is more effective than a gun?
Stop. No.
Look at it. Google it.
I will. I look. I will Google
can
it.
dodge
I know for multiple reasons you're
You're
wrong.
wrong. I'm right. I'm right.
No,
I know I'm
no,
right.
no,
They're
you're
not,
wrong.
you're not.
And we'll have this
right.
conversation. No, we'll have this conversation. I assure you.
So I
if-
can't
if I'm
skill
20
roadkill.
If I'm
with
20
a
feet away from somebody, I'd rather have a gun than a knife. Like every time. Okay. So
Right.
we can have this
Nah,
conversation.
you know how accurate I am with throwing a knife?
I'm not
No,
talking
because-
about throwing a knife. I'm not gonna throw a knife.
because bullets have a very particular effect on the human nervous system that knives don't.
Do that?
But Ollie,
What?
absolutely they do, right? So okay, I watch a lot of videos of people getting shot and dying, right, in war and shit. I'm
Whoa.
fucked up in the head, right, all the time. And when you get hit by a bullet, it just is what it is. If you actually look at a slow-mo video of a bullet entering jelly, essentially, it doesn't just pass through. It smacks
Explosion.
against it, and it creates this massive air bubble, and that's
Crater,
it's like a hydrostatic shock, I think is what it's called. And that shock,
The word you're looking for is
sends-
stopping power.
Well,
Like,
stopping
a firearm
power. Yeah,
has stopping
I
power.
understand. I understand, but I'm describing the mechanism of how it works. It creates a giant air bubble in you, and that sends a shock wave through your nerves, and it paralyzes you. That's why when people in the videos where people get shot, they clutch up and fall over, and they can't move anymore. And that's because the effect bullets have on the body. And that's why they're so effective as a self-defense weapon, when knives simply are not, right? And so if you're going to bring a knife to a
Admiral-
gunfight, I think that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly. and I want to
Admiral
clarify
Gibbs,
one last thing.
Yeah.
The two-wheeler
Let
defense
me-
show proves that wrong.
let me just
they let people
hold
do
on,
this for
real
many,
quick.
many times.
I just want to clarify for Ali. When I'm saying play with a gun, I'm saying not being reckless with it. I agree. You should not be reckless. I'm saying taking it apart, putting it back together again, knowing what every single part does.
I don't think that's
checking,
playing.
Checking. Okay, sure. Maybe that's what I think of. When I'm thinking about interacting, I like taking it apart. I like looking at every single
this is
piece,
like
checking the
Legos.
consistency, checking the. I played with Legos as a kid. It is exactly like Legos, and that's why I love it so much. If I owned any, but I don't. But go
It's
ahead.
fun to disassemble and reassemble and all that, and make sure to take care of. I understand all that. It's just I think for more people than not, they have the reaction that I'm having, which is one, they'd probably escalate a violent situation rather than calm it down, and not because they're gonna see red or they're so strong. It's just because I think for a lot of people they're in that fight or flight, and they're just gonna use the defense tool that they have for minuscule situations, which I think is the greater problem of everyone owning a gun, because I think the majority of people aren't going to be trained. Because even people who own their guns right now, I feel I've seen more people be kind of careless or
That's
reckless.
one more reason a knife is better within 20 feet. Knives take very minimal training to be effective. Guns, you need line of sight. You need cover. You need 21 feet that you can get to you faster than you can pull the gun out most of the time. Knives more versatile. I can skin animals. I could cut things with it other than stabbing people. These are regular things. I mean, I hit a javelina the other night. Guess what? Now we got javelina sausage coming up in a couple of months. So I'm just saying, there's all sorts of things you could use a knife for versus a gun. I can't skin no animal with a gun. If they're within 21 feet, and I'm oh, bumbling, I'm getting stabbed.
Very
If you're
Very
saying that, if you're
very
saying
both.
that on your gun-
So I was trying to let me give the devil his due here, Admiral Gibbs, right? There is research that suggests that in stopping criminal activity as a victim, right? Like when you look at victim surveys and self defense, I forget the exact term, the National Victimization Report or something like that, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the raw data, what you will find is that knives are more effective than guns, and that is what the research suggests. The problem is there are statistics, there are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics, right? So one of the issues is that firearms as a deterrent often stop the crime before the crime is committed, right? So someone comes up to mug you, and then you pull out a firearm, and then they run away. Well, that doesn't get categorized as stopping the mugging from occurring because the mugging didn't actually occur. What occurred was like a threat. It gets classified in the data differently, and you have, let's be honest, disingenuous people. There are a lot of NGOs and a lot of people with political views about guns that are willing to, not actually do an accurate accounting of the data in that regard. And it's the same thing when they talk about mass shootings, where they'll say, oh, well, guns don't stop mass shootings. It's like, well, that's because when there's someone there that pulls out a firearm after someone shoots someone and then shoots them, guess what? A mass shooting was never recorded because you can't record a crime that didn't occur because it was stopped, right? Like good guys with guns do stop mass shootings. It occurs all the time.
Yeah,
but like you can't actually record a what if in the future.
I have a question for Sociologic. Basically, my question, in regards to this whole thing, is are you concerned about responsibility when it comes to owning a gun, at all, or just with the idea of concealed carrying?
Honestly, at all. I think a lot of people I think people see guns as not. They buy them to have fun. They buy them to go to the range. It's a traditional thing. Their parents had them guns. I don't think everyone sees a gun as this self-defense tool. I think they see it as this as just a fun thing. And so
I think that might be your friends and your.
Well, then that's potentially. Most people probably don't need a gun then.
I'd argue that most people don't need a gun, but you never know when someone's gonna pull a gun on you, so you gotta have one just in case. But I don't know. That's kind of the. That's because you're a lefty.
If you're a law-abiding citizen, I think you should have a gun.
Lefty Yankee.
Grid, you got to be more aggressive in panels like this.
I know, man. I'm trying not to be a complete.
Just be a dick. It'll be okay.
No, just be an asshole.
Take Scott's example. Just be an asshole all the time. Yeah, don't worry about it.
All right, yeah, good.
Yeah, just be a
so
dick.
I'm a competitive shooter. I don't know if you guys know that, but I compete in 3-gun. I compete in USPSA. Occasionally, I'll slum it down in IDPA. I have 3 within reach. That's just because this is America and I can. I just bought.
What about the bathroom?
Tonight.
Hey, brother.
In the shower?
Do you have one under the tank? Under the
I have one in the shower.
Toilet?
I'm sorry?
Under the toilet tank? Do you have one, right? Where you can just
I'm in the toilet tank with a plastic bag.
Actually, where a knife is probably better.
At the top, not the bottom.
I keep those handy too. There's one here and one there. Knives, so that's fine.
Just trips over weapons.
I'm sorry?
You just trip over weapons accidentally in your house?
No, well, when my son's around, that's true because he leaves them everywhere. However, he is being way more responsible these days, and so that's fine.
How old is your son?
14.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is a real American right here.
I started teaching my kid about guns at 4 years old. At 4 years old, my kid started learning about guns.
Yeah.
My son has been shooting on the school play target team since he was 10, and he started with a 12 gauge, not a girl gun.
At 10?
That's not a girl gun. Yes. What's a girl gun?
At 12, at 12 is big for a 10-year-old. That's impressive.
Yeah. Kacha, you didn't get any of your estrogen all over.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay, I don't struggle, but it does give me a bruise. Come on, it's kind of fun to kick.
Hold on.
We gotta talk about that after this battle.
If you're taught how to hold it properly, right? It's not that bad.
I have always gotten a
really-
bruise, even when I've held it properly. Come on.
You just got a little dainty
You're just a girl, Lactoid. What can I say?
Yeah, you just got girl skin, brother.
It's because he didn't eat the heart of the deer last time he killed it.
It's not
Lactoid, you know that they make
It's
sissy pads,
It's a
right?
real man's gun.
You know they make
I
sissy
actually used
pads,
to
right?
teach kids how to
Lactoid?
shoot.
Oh.
I ran a 22 caliber introduction program to competitive shooting at a local range. One of the kids I shot is nationally ranked now. He's very. I mean, one of the kids I taught.
You might want to rephrase that.
Yeah, whatever.
Joe, fucking Tim Walls moment.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, a Dick Cheney moment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dick Cheney.
The RB.
But one of the kids that I taught, he's nationally ranked now. He does very well. He's actually won a couple of $1,000s this year in prizes. So for shooting three gun, which is not particularly impressive. But so I shoot competitively. I shoot pistol, rifle, and shotgun all at the same time while moving. We run with guns. We're not standing there shooting at paper target. We shoot at steel and paper. So it's a really interesting dynamic. When I hear people talk about guns that have never even been to the range, or have been to the range and they've shot a 22 and thought that was awesome. I mean, that's great, that's cool, but come out with me and I will change your entire worldview on guns. That is what I do, and I love doing it. So you guys you have an open invitation. Come to Tennessee, the shooting state, the patron state of shooting.
There you
stuff.
go. That is the thing too. Like
David Crockett, he died.
That is the thing where like so many lefties or like journalists have like gone out to like learn about firearms to like talk about how bad they are, and then like they're just like, this was so cool. Like,
it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
It's like they end up just becoming gun owners because they realize it's just.
You know what I really and I don't mean to necessarily pick on any specific group, but what always amazes me is the movement against the AR-15, because it is the one weapon that a woman can use most effectively in any situation.
The girl gun.
It is literally a girl gun. And
see, that's why I got the AK. Okay, I don't want to be mistaken.
It was made for your delicate female hands. Okay.
No.
You know why AKs are men's guns?
It's because it doesn't have a lot of kick.
You don't know if you're going to die or not, and that's the excitement of it.
Well, no,
I didn't get a Century Arms one. Okay, it's not going to blow up in my face. I'm good.
Well, I mean, like the AR-15, similar to the M4, right? Like the collapsible buttstock, and that is effective for room clearing in indoor situations, is also very effective, like Grid said, towards individuals with smaller frames, and not having like the longer barrel that's traditional of a lot of 5.56. Really does give it, gives it a little bit less kick. Now, granted, it doesn't give it as much distance, right? Like, an M16 is going to be a better shot at is going to be better at a longer shot. But of course, it's going to be more difficult to utilize and lug around in, indoor situations or in places like that. But I mean, yeah, for the same reason that it's good for that is the same reason that it is great for females that want to shoot.
Listen, I can appreciate the girl gun, but just for the record, me personally, the gun that I've shot the most is probably a 1940s Mosin Nagant that with the bayonet on, it's taller than me, so I don't necessarily need it, but I do have one.
But
you're probably shooting it prone, right? Like you're not running around with it.
No, standing.
Not running around, but I'm standing.
Yeah,
she's charging at the Germans with it.
Way to shoot that specific gun. That's terrible.
So, Grid, right? You're new here, and your audience is new here. Well, actually, you've been watching Grid at least, but I'm not going to hide my power level here. I'm absolutely like anti-gun. Not a fan.
That's great.
Boo.
So,
because it's America, you have that right.
Per this.
There's exceptions, Grid. Okay, come on. We can't allow hate speech.
Per this conversation, right? Like the at least the previous parts of the conversation, I've had like similar thoughts in that, like, simply put, because I live in this country flooded with guns, that like as a form of self-protection from Lactoid and Scott, that I would need a weapon as well, right? But not because I in any way approve of the status quo of guns, but only just like the reality of the situation. Well, I don't have one. I've shot guns in the past, but I mean, yeah, like I hear what Scott was saying, that it's a fun activity, right? Sure, but like whatever.
We can give you some recommendations.
I'm not concerned about my own enjoyment. I'm more concerned about like the thousands of gun deaths that we have per year. That's my issue.
Okay,
but
how would you solve those thousands of gun deaths per year?
Go ahead. Then I've got. This is a fun. Sure. This is a fun subject. This is great. I like.
And I'll go to you right next. What was I gonna say? Yes. I was gonna say that like, why I think that we can't advance some sort of consensus gun regulation regime is that we also don't recognize that in different areas of the country we're dealing with different situations on the ground, and where sure maybe rural areas aren't dealing with like the incredible gun violence we see in cities, right? Certain parts of certain cities. So, but maybe they can't understand the hesitance that you see from urban areas, and then on the other side, in rural areas, they are far away from like any particular help, right? And so it's on their own to defend themselves in case something does happen. You can't call the cops or anyone else, right? And so like I recognize that if we were to maybe find something, some sort of common ground, we'd have to understand that these different areas like have different situations, and we need to take that into account, and maybe try to be charitable with one another when we're talking about these things. Okay. Go ahead.
This is an argument that I actually really like to have, because it's entered into because there's a perception and then there's reality. So like the perception is that all these people die of gun deaths. Would you know how many children were killed in school shootings last year?
Like just talking about school 40? Shootings. So.
Yeah, no, I just want to use this. This is just one fun fact. It's 6.
Oh, no, fun fact. But...
6. Do you know how many were killed in crosswalks at schools?
Way more than that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
92. 92. So by
ban crosswalks, Prime.
If we want, yeah, right. No. We have to ban SUVs.
Never heard this argument before.
Never. Them, right?
Yeah. Wait, you gotta be careful. They actually do want to ban SUVs, so don't.
And women. They also want to ban women.
I mean, no.
California's right on that.
I wouldn't ban SUVs. I would just have like sensible regulations around cars, right? Cars.
You mean like a driver's license?
A loophole.
It was the light truck loophole.
Yeah, the light truck loophole. Right? I would actually get rid of that, and so we could have like cars of sensible size, like not like increasingly larger tanks on the streets, right? That are a danger to all civilians.
Tanks actually have better ground visibility than modern Ford F-150s.
Hold on.
It's pretty hilarious.
One of the major reasons that we have increasingly larger trucks and SUVs is because of the exact, left that keeps pushing environmental regulations, right? The reason that they make the cars larger is that they have to have a certain gas mileage based off of per square inch of the vehicle, and it is often cheaper and easier for them to just make the vehicle bigger than it is for them to make the engine and the propulsion system more efficient.
God bless America. I love it so much here.
That's not correct.
It is the unintended roundabout. That is not incorrect.
Make it smaller, make it bigger, baby. Let's go.
When you're talking about the CAFE standards, they're not even regulated in that manner when they're considered to be light trucks, though.
She's somewhat right on this. Light trucks are exempt.
I love this country.
Light truck exemption.
People rolling around in Lexus are, whatever little SUVs. Those are not classified as light trucks. They're SUVs, and that's what I'm talking about. We all know that. But I like this because what I'm trying to illustrate, and I think that we all, whether you want to be intellectually honest enough to admit it, we all know that more laws aren't the answer, right? So at the end of the day,
I think Prime's truly convinced now.
Yeah,
you got it.
No, I don't think we agree, friend.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
right, so let's talk about this. What is the answer?
Laws. Do you understand?
Laws are never the answer because people break them.
So many laws that most people don't even understand. Like I literally have to tell people all the time about the actual gun laws.
People pay me to tell them about laws. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah.
so-
Yeah. So
But you're a lawyer or
like,
something.
So
we've
what
already got
difference does
so
it make?
many
There's so many
laws
laws
on
that
the
people don't
books
know. We don't
about
have to
this.
know all the laws,
And
right? Like that's like
if we're
not a
talking
thing.
about this
It's not
one
standard.
specific thing,
Right? Like I don't expect Lactoid to know all the laws. When I ask Lactoid about like the law, right? If he doesn't have an answer to me that moment, I don't think he's a failure of a lawyer, right? No, like,
You're a lawyer. Name every single law.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly, right? That's silly. Like,
Right.
of course.
So
not.
you admit that we have
Again-
so many laws that even a lawyer can't be expected
Yes,
to know the
yes.
laws.
Too
that-
many laws.
In a
Can I
country,
No,
say
yeah,
break
it's a
the
good. That
law?
is a good point.
What
Like
you're-
the
if you
bureaucracy
suggest
is
that
Byzantine.
be
It's
something
awful.
that
It's
we
yeah,
way
do.
too.
Tom. In a country of 300 plus million individuals, yes, we have a lot of laws and regulations. And with a country that's been around for 3 centuries or however long the U.S. has been around, right? That yes, we've
No one's going to change it.
yeah.
Well, we already have the 10
we-
Commandments, Prime. We don't need any more.
And even we can do without as well.
and-
We-
Or
we
more,
do it.
but
we've-
I don't know how
we've
we feel
accumulated
about
a lot of
those.
laws, but we're dealing with many complex situations, right? Like property rights alone. There's a huge body of law around property rights because it's a thing that
There
matters.
is.
So yeah, that's fine.
Thank you for agreeing that property rights matter.
Hey, that was for you. No, that was for you. That's what reason I reached out for it. Like I knew I'd get a little consensus there. But yeah, so like
I appreciate it.
so we can understand that. So like
And there
I
should
don't
be
care
no
about
laws
the number
around
of
them.
laws, the number of regulations. Now, what I care about is that they make sense, right? And so we can have perverse incentives that we create through the law. Absolutely, 100%, right? And when we do that, we should address those.
Do you want to?
That's what unintended consequences are. That's the problem. Is every time you make a law, you have to be prepared that you are almost invariably going to have unintended consequences of the law. And if the means by which you address that, right, is to add in more laws to try and fix the problem that was created by the law before it, well, then that new law has new unintended consequences.
Or just fix the first
And what
law.
ends up happening. Yeah,
make an
but that's
amendment.
not
Don't
how
make
our
a new
fucking
law.
We have an
government
example?
works, right? Like we.
Well, I'm
Do I
not
have an
for
example?
that.
I'll give you an
I'm not
example,
for-
right?
I'm for good
So like
things, not
the
for bad
FDA.
things.
So before 2018, right? One of the ingredients that was not required. So the sesame seeds, right? Sesame seeds are a thing that were in a bunch of products, but some group of people are allergic to sesame seeds. Okay, and what
You
packaging
call them.
used to do is say. The packaging used to say, hey, look,
Cool.
may contain sesame seeds. And then that was not enough. And they amended the laws that said that that if your product, like they amended the laws on the packaging and labeling requirements for sesame seeds. Well, the problem with sesame seeds is that they're really fucking small. And so what the companies started doing is instead of having products that didn't have sesame seeds and then putting on their label may contain sesame seeds or made in the same factory where sesame seeds are processed, because they're so small and they just kind of slip into products every now and then, they just started adding a really small amount of sesame seeds to all their fucking products. Because now they don't have to worry about it because it's an ingredient and they can't get sued or get fined because a product that's not supposed to have sesame seeds in it doesn't have sesame seeds in it. So now people that are allergic to sesame seeds, mildly allergic, right? Not people that are going to go into anaphylactic shock, but people that get like stomach aches and like have like issues. They had a whole range of products that they used to be able to purchase that were very unlikely to have sesame seeds in them that they now no longer can purchase and eat because the government was going to solve this fucking non-existent problem. And then they exacerbated it. So the individuals that have mild allergic, this very small group of people that have allergic reactions to sesame seeds specifically now can't eat as much food and they have to be even more careful. And so the government didn't fix the problem. They just created a problem.
I don't want to focus on this. We've talked about that enough. This is like a side conversation to the thing we were talking about before, right?
Which is we need to
She
shower
just
again.
asked a question, so I answered.
About
it.
the
I
car
understand.
stuff,
I
or-
understand that, and I let you answer that, and you did.
Well, I can give you a very quick example. This is a pointless law. The
don't
assault
care.
weapons ban of 1996. Absolutely pointless.
True.
No, we should have no
pointless.
weapons banned. That should be able to get any weapon.
Not
That's the real
sure
point
about that,
there.
but whatever.
Well, and I can tell you
It's
why.
just
Well, there was
recreational news.
The
no.
bazooka ban?
just-
Wait, let me
Is the
explain.
bazooka ban also like, irrational?
We
It
can
is
have a
ridiculous.
conversation.
Hold on,
We can
that
have a
is
con-
It is ridiculous,
No,
Gibbs.
no.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I
But
should
like
have
the
my
1996 assault weapons ban, which banned AR-15s, AK, stuff like that, the things that you can buy today, had no significant impact on crime. murder in the United States. There's been multiple analyses of this. Consistently, it has not had any significant impact.
What
on
if they
total
just banned
violent
all
crime.
guns?
Yeah, but I mean,
And the reason
People
for this
wouldn't follow
is
the
because
law.
all rifles and shotguns combined only make up 6% of gun homicides.
Yeah,
they're relatively negligible.
Oh, here's what's hilarious is y'all. No, hold on. Let's just take his bazooka ban for a second. How ridiculous is it, right? He got like pistols, handguns. They're the ones that commit most of the crimes, right? Like the idea, that we ban bazookas, we're going to save people from having all these bazooka incidents. Like, what are people going to be doing with a bazooka? You're not going to be walking into 7-Eleven and going, give me your fucking, all the money in the cash register with a fucking
grew up around a bunch of Arabs.
Like, give me a break.
I grew up around a bunch of Arab Americans. I promise you, if you allow Arab Americans to buy bazookas, someone will accidentally shoot down a building. I'm telling you right now.
Well, statistically speaking, it'll probably be a mosque.
I was against it, but now that you brought up the Arabs, I'm kind of, it makes sense.
Now I'm back on board. Now you convinced me again.
So, anyway, all right. Yeah. I guess the point. I was just trying to engage a good one here. Because I appreciate you have a different perspective on this. In fact, I think half this panel, half this panel, has a. Well, actually, maybe even more than half of this panel has a different perspective. Ali, I'll go to you, Ali, afterwards. I guess. Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Ask me one question.
Sure.
I was just enjoying Scott just rambling on. I like it. I enjoy it.
Oh, well, you'll get plenty of that. Well, this will be your paradise. Yeah. So I appreciate that you have a different perspective.
Obviously, I aim to please
on this. And so I guess I just want to hear like your thoughts and like, do you not think that there could be some sort of like consensus package that people in different areas could like get behind in terms of gun regulations? You think gun regulation is like in itself a foolish endeavor, period?
I think that all the current gun laws are not only ineffective, but they provide criminals with methods of obtaining guns they shouldn't have, that law-abiding citizens won't, and therefore we should strike down all of the gun laws. Matter of fact, I'm all for the Hearing Protection Act, which will deregulate suppressors. First of all, it would anger me normally because I paid a lot of money to have the suppressors that I have. However, I want to do it for the good of the children. And so we must have the Hearing Protection Act and deregulate all suppressors. As far as full automatic weapons, they're great until you have to pay the ammo bill. So I actually have a drop-in auto steer. If you want to come out, we can go shoot some full auto if you like. You're going to pay the bill, and when your wallet hurts that much, you're never going to do it again.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna reach out. I agree. All the gun laws, take them off. I only want one law, and still don't want to see if you like them, because it is fun shooting a gun. There's a turret. You can rent a turret at the gun range that I go to. It's expensive, but you can do it. So the only law I actually think would help is kids being punished, or parents being punished for their kids' crimes. So like you have a kid who's 14, right? And he has a gun, blah, blah, blah. So like now we're gonna move it away from you. Another parent has a kid 14. That kid's irresponsible with his gun that the parent gave him. I think the parent should suffer the crime of that the kid committed.
The whole crime, like as if the parent did it.
Yeah, 100%.
The Eagle. I believe that that firearms education starts not just at home but in our schools, and that every single child in America should be taught how to handle properly a firearm. We used to do that. We used to have
like they were until the 70s.
I know, and if you don't, I think, and if your kid doesn't, I think you should suffer their crime.
So if you if
quick
my kid
question.
drives
Hold
my
on,
car and
quick
runs
question.
over somebody, I should suffer that as well.
Well, if your kid, we've had this panel before. If your kid has a history, a record of reckless driving, and you allow him to use your car and you don't remove him, then yes.
An accident
is an accident.
What if they steal your car?
Sociologic. This is a great example.
When my 14-year-old gets angry at the kid next door and steals my keys and goes and runs over him with a car, am I responsible?
Yes,
yeah,
according
you
to
should be watching over your kids.
This is
a 14-year-old 24/7.
A 14-year-old getting access to your keys to run over someone.
What if they do it while I'm taking a shit, bro? Like if I'm taking a shit, what am I supposed to do?
You do realize
Yeah,
like the normal.
I gotta bring in a 14-year-old
over someone, right? Like this.
Hey, you want me to be like,
Sociological-
sit there in the corner while I'm taking a shit and watch him, or like what? Like,
Sociological.
Like,
Sociological.
you sit there and take a shit real quick.
Sociologic. So this is exactly
Don't
what
you
I'm talking
fucking
about.
move!
So hold on.
Delusion.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. When people use the term reasonable regulation,
You're
right?
gonna make parents
There's-
responsible for all of the
All right, hold on.
things their kids do.
Hold on.
That's the
Hold
most
on,
insane
hold on.
thing I've ever heard.
Okay.
Hold
When your
on,
kid
hold on,
steals
hold on.
from
Grant.
Kroger or Walmart.
Don't you want to hear
You're
Scott's
repeating
rambling?
yourself.
Yeah,
Love it.
Let Scott.
Let Scott
You're
ramble.
repeating yourself.
Yeah, it's Scott's
You're
rambling time.
repeating yourself. You know what I mean? If he makes a new argument, yeah.
You want
fuck
that
yeah,
sweet
I'll-
Scott music?
I just want to see him like prosecute people for wiping their ass because they
Alright,
couldn't get
so
finished wiping their
this
ass
is-
in time for the
alright,
kid shot up a
alright,
building.
So again, this is what I'm talking about when I say unintended consequences. If you enact a law where parents are now legally responsible for anything their child may or may not do that utilizes property that you own, right? So the car that you own with the car keys, the gun, etc., right? In your mind, you're thinking, well, parents will be more careful and they'll be more involved in their children's life. And that is going to be true for a percentage of children, for a percentage. But what's also going to happen is you're going
Not
to
having
have
kids.
two different scenarios. You're going to have, well, some people aren't going to have kids because it now becomes
All right.
a financial and legal problem, right? So you're going to have massively declining birth rates.
Well,
from
less
this
gun owners
position.
would have kids.
So hold on.
Yeah, and the non-gun owners aren't having
Yeah,
kids
what are you gonna do with
either.
no
Unless
car?
No, yeah.
Oh my fucking God. Let me get through this.
Oh Jesus!
The other thing that you're going to have is you're going to have
Eventually
draconian. Oh my! Well, if you just shut the fuck up and let the smarter person talk, we'll have a better
Listen,
panel.
That's debatable. That's debatable. But
So go ahead and give me a goddamn second to get through this. The other
I
thing
think the
you're gonna
smarter
have is you're gonna
person's just listening.
You're
But go on.
going to have draconian parenting. You're going to have parents that are already parents that are now going to monitor every single solitary aspect of their children's life. They're going to be banned from
I don't
using
think so.
anything. Everything's going to be like.
Hold on, there's a third-
I don't think so.
The third thing, and the most
I knew it.
egregious and the most horrible
Dude,
thing
fourth
that
one.
is going to happen is that there is going. Shut the fuck up, Admiral. The last thing, the third thing, not the fourth thing, is that there are going
The
to be a
fifth thing.
bunch of parents. There are going to be a bunch of parents
36
that
days
have
later.
Shut the fuck up, you retard, dude! Stop. Let me get through
Let's
this.
Scott finish.
Jesus Christ, man. All right. What's going to happen is you're going to have parents that have problem teenagers, and they're going to get rid of them. They're going to put them in social services. And if you look at the stats, you're going to see horrendous things. When you look at children that go through CPS or that are given up, you will notice that half of the homeless population are people that have spent time in this. You're going to see the drug usage is insane from those people. The child abuse and sexual abuse of them is through the roof of any other demographic. This is the most abused demographic with the worst outcomes
Let people
of
have their
anyone else
abortions.
in America.
Let people
No,
have
it's
their
not about an
abortions.
abortion.
Hold on,
It's gonna be
They're not going to have
You
the kids to
have
give it
a
up.
child.
Smarty
No.
And
It's
then
not
the
about
problem,
abortions.
and then problem
It's you have
teenagers.
children. You have children that become
I have a
problem children for
solution.
one reason or
Hold on,
another,
hold
and
on,
they're
Ollie,
going
Ollie,
to
Ollie, hold on.
abandon
Problem
them.
kids should go to a boarding school. There should be a
Hold on,
boarding
hold on.
school
Smarty Pants
for
missed the
problem
most
children.
obvious thing. The most obvious thing Smarty Pants here missed, which is crazy because apparently it wasn't a little
Well, I
big of
couldn't
an
have a
asshole.
fourth one.
Well, I know, thank God. But I'll give you the fourth one you missed.
Yeah.
It's that you're going to have a group of asshole kids who go, oh, I know my parents are going to be charged with this problem if I do something. And then they're going to shoot
Yeah.
somebody.
Absolutely.
'Cause
Yeah, and then
mom
they
is-
go to boarding
because
school.
clearly you
Wait,
weren't
the
a
kid,
porno child.
the kid doesn't
Well,
not suffer.
I have a
No,
fifth.
Mom-
I have
the
a
parents-
number
they get
five.
shit to
They
a
don't
boarding
care.
school.
Mama's
have a
going
number
there because she
five.
didn't buy me a new iPhone. So, like, she's going to prison.
Oh, that's brilliant.
a
That's
number
exactly something I would do.
So
Yeah.
obviously, I'm gonna reel the
Number
memes. I'm gonna
five.
reel the meme back. I'm gonna reel
Yeah,
the
there you
meme
go.
back.
Number 5, leftist
Mhm.
arguments. This is going to disproportionately affect the parents who are in a lower social economic status
Black people.
because they're going
Just say
to be.
black people.
No.
Okay, I'm on board
I'm not
with
Just
going
that.
to
black
say
people.
that.
Just say
I'm
black
not
people.
going. No, thank you. Sorry, Scott. I'm making my point. We let you make yours. Anyways, I'm going to make my non-racial point right now. It's going to disproportionately affect people in low socioeconomic statuses because a lot of these parents are going to be working and not watching their parents or watching their kids while they're taking a shit to make sure that they don't drive the car without permission and get into an accident. So a lot of those people are going to end up getting charged or getting, put in jail, they can't afford bail, the usual criminal justice issues, and it's going to disproportionately affect them. So that's number 5.
But Ali, so you said you're going to reel back.
Reel it back. Okay, so like obviously accidents, things that happen. These are not like I don't want your kid gets into like a fight, pushes someone. These aren't. But like, if your kid has a history of shit that they've been committing, and you're a negligent parent, yeah, to my point, then the gun laws don't need to exist because like Grid 1 is clearly like, you know, he's responsible. He's teaching his kid responsibility. Now he said his kid was leaving his gun around like all the time, but like he's shaping up. And then he told us he was 14.
What if you just have an asshole kid? Some people
That's
are just
normal.
Like, no, come on.
Some kids are just assholes.
Yes, everybody. So it's just some people are just bad people. Like
So
I left knives all around the house.
Sometimes you just forget them.
Sometimes people are just bad. I'm sorry.
My statement for at-risk youth or whatever, honestly, military school for me was honestly a real answer. If you have an at-risk youth, I don't think juvie works. I don't think
no, but listen, I think people who's like other crazy. Hold on.
Boarding school is expensive.
People
that's a military school.
in the world, right?
I think it should be.
So hold on. I want to give you some
juvie.
context. I'm one of those people, and you know, and I have no problem admitting this, right? And I've told people this over and over again. Look, I have quite a collection. As a matter of fact, I opened my desk drawer the other day, and there was, I'm not kidding, there were 4 Glocks in the bottom drawer of my desk, and I forgot that I owned them. I literally did not realize that I owned them.
I like this guy a lot.
I'm one of those people, okay? I was like, oh, look, here these are. Or I go look for something, and I'm like, where did I put that? And it's, you know, it's in my, I have a space button next to the bed that I keep firearms in and things like that. When I was a single person, I was a little bit more cavalier. Now, not so much because I'm married, I have kids. I've been married 20 years, so you know it's one of those things. You get a little more careful.
Yeah.
But
humble brag.
My kids have been around guns for so long that they know not to touch them. They know not to do anything with them. They understand it. The first thing my kid does when he picks up a gun is check to see if it's clear or not. He's better than most law enforcement officers, to be honest with you. And he's competed. He's shot competitively. He shoots for his school team. He helps other kids understand it.
A lot of people are bad parents, brother.
Hold on, but I really want to engage with this.
You have to understand
kids
that
are also going to grow up.
I'm not somebody that owns 2 guns that keeps them locked in a cabinet somewhere where I never even see them, and then pull them out once a year. And my kid now has this, like, there's a sense of mystery about it. There's this what do they call it? I can't think of it, what it's called, but this air of I want to know what that is. I want to go play with that. And my kids don't have that because they're just tools. It's no different than the hammer in the toolbox.
Yeah.
They're different than
I mean, but there's some
we're talking about unintended consequences.
Hold on. I want to say
I want to engage with this. Like, this is like, so I'm gonna pull back from Ali's point, which I think was to Mimi, right? In terms of like holding parents responsible, yeah, sure. If your gun, right, which should be locked up the way Scott's locking up his guns for his children, right? If your guns aren't locked up, if you are being irresponsible with your weapon and your child commits a crime with them, yeah, actually you should be held responsible. If you're
on the kid.
giving your child like if you as a parent are giving the child a weapon, right, well then you're going to take responsibility for that child's action. If we say that children can't understand their own can't make decisions on their own, can't be held responsible for their own actions completely, right, then that means that the parents are responsible. And you're saying that I'm going to put the ultimate responsibility in this kid's hands, and I'm going to give him a deadly weapon, right? Now, if you're, like, I'm not, this is of course not a some sort of judgment on your child in particular, of course, right? And I think most of children can actually handle this, right? I actually have a lot of faith in kids, and I to be clear, I like your idea when you're like training your child from such a young age, right? Like, so I'm for all of that. That sounds like a good idea, especially from your perspective. But right, if you are going to do that, right, and then your child commits a crime, yeah, absolutely. We don't have to extend this to cars, right? Guns are a special category of weapon, or a special category of item, and that they are a weapon. And if you're providing your child with weapons, and especially if you have any reason to believe that they might, right? Like the one kid who was like drawing pictures of him murdering his class, right? And like,
well, that's why it matters on the kid, is what I said.
Rum,
right?
like going through his head.
I agree.
And
I agree that
there
there
should
should be some consequence.
Hold on, I really want to hear this so I can respond, guys. I can only hear
I'll
one
let you
person.
respond. I'm almost done. There was one of our last major school shootings, right? Or mass shootings. I'm not sure if it's school shooting, but when a young kid had that issue, I think it was in Florida, maybe. But
Atlanta.
Maybe. But the father, like from all reports, was like you, and that he was teaching his kid how to handle guns from a very young age, doing it for many, many years, right? He would have said all the same things about his child. He didn't think his child was going to do what the kid ended up doing, right? He would have said all the same things, right? But it was his responsibility. He dropped the ball, and yes, so he should be prosecuted. So go ahead.
So that guy actually is being prosecuted.
Yeah.
To your point, actually. And I think the reason that they're doing that is because that kid had actually been on Discord in a Discord chat making threats. The sheriff's deputies had interviewed the father. The father had supported his son and basically forgot about it afterwards. And then there's some other things there. There was some weirdness with the parents and the household, and
they were split up
out of homes and things like that. That I'm not really. I honestly I don't know the facts. I'm just saying there were external factors. That's a really good. That's a good example of where I don't agree with the father being held responsible in that case, but I can understand it. Do you understand what I mean? Like the kid is old enough to know what he's doing is wrong, but he can't. But you shouldn't also have more. You also should be interacting more with your child. I don't know what just happened there.
No, we can still see you. We still see you. We can
We're all
hear
good.
and see you. Let's go to Gibbs, Katja, and Lactoid.
Yeah, I want to jump in here on like one thing. I think there's even cases where you could take somebody that was showing, and I'm not like an expert, like maybe like they had this like fantasy about guns and they had this fantasy about killing. I remember like not understanding death too much as a child, and then like I went hunting and I understood, oh, like these things have ramifications. You can't just like, oh, like, you know, I like when you see that meme about a 3-year-old maybe killing a toad or something, and you're like, oh, well, is it a one-off or is he? Now he's crucifying toads regularly. That's a problem, right? Like, you know, that's totally different. So maybe you like show them the ramifications they hunt and get out of it. The other thing I want to say is, all right, I'm at that age now where a lot of my friends have kids. Right. And like I have friends that are way older than me now, and I have friends that are way younger. And I see this a lot. I like some of these people would be what I'd call quote unquote like good parents, right? Some of these they have like 3 kids and they'll have like, oh, I don't know, like 2 of them will be like grade A students. One will be out of college, like getting out of college or something. They're like, you know, successful. They might have a middle one. Then they have like a third one in their family. And that third one, though, that kid is just the world's biggest shit eater. Like I went over to my friend's house the other day, and she's got 3 kids, and like one's a baby, so you know that doesn't really count. The second one, her first child, he's a saint, and then the second one, he's like 6. He's already acting like you know, a serial killer. He's over here trying to give me orders, and like I know she's a good mom. Like she's got her kids at school. She's like teaching some shit. I've seen her. And it's like, this kid's just a bad kid. Like some people are just bad. And like, I think that kid's probably, you know, my guess is if I had to wager, hopefully he grows out of it. But, you know, he might end up being a like repeat offender of like murder or whatever. I don't know. But my point is like, you know, what are you going to do in that case? Like, if they do everything, are we going to go, oh, how do we like start the line? Once you start the line on going after parents, it's a slippery slope. I hate to be that guy, but the governments never get less power. They always take more. And that's not something we want right there.
Let's go to Katja, Lactoid, Corey, Scott, and Holly, if he actually has a point.
Everyone.
Yeah, so I hope the 6-year-old of your friends is not you know, gonna become a quote unquote repeat offender. I think that's a bit early.
He's gonna turn the guy from Psycho for sure.
Right,
like,
we're gonna have our fingers crossed that he won't turn out like Patrick Bateman, but you know, okay. My point was, here's basically when we were talking about this conversation, I don't feel like obviously parents should be charged with the actual crime or anywhere near the level of the actual crime that's committed. But my ideal legislation, if we're going to legislate this at all, would be something that has, let's say, like 2 prongs. Like, number one, the parent has to have evidence that the kid was an issue in this way, like something like the police going and being like, oh, wow, they had this in their journal, or the parent, like proof that the parent found something like that where they were talking about murder people, this, that, and the other. And 2, they had to have gotten the weapon via means of their parent being irresponsible. Like, if they, like, broke into the gun safe, or they, like, remembered the passcode from when they were putting it in or something like that, and they were never given it, and that can't be proven, then I think that that wouldn't count. But if those 2 are met, where the parent was irresponsible with guns and the parent knew they were an issue, then yeah, there should be some sort of negligence situation there. Not to the point where it's to the level of the crime the kid committed, but obviously, like, you know, I'm okay with some penalty.
So 2 things. We're gonna go to our friend Lagtwood, but we thank you, Sean, for re-upping your membership on YouTube. Awfully kind of you guys. If you are on YouTube, consider a super chat, right? So if you agree or disagree with anything, I'd love to read it out. So we do take super chats. We'll read it out and we'll engage with the topic. But thank you for Sean for being a regular and very kind supporter of this community, and Gibbs for resubbing on the Twitch earlier. So shout out to you. All right, let's go to our friend Lactwood.
Yeah, I agree with Katya's 2-prong test. I was going to say something similar, but I've got no reservation. I think it's smart. I think it makes sense. Mm-hmm. The one thing I guess wanted to say that I think adds on to a point that Grid Motorsports said earlier was, teaching kids about guns early on, I think, can mitigate a lot of these issues. And I would like to see it part of the curriculum, right? It used to be part of the curriculum, right? Back in the 50s and 60s, you can look at photographs of, the kids bringing their rifles to the gymnasium and practice shooting. I think that, guns are a foundational right. They make up the basis of our republic. And I think it makes sense to include it within the public school curriculum, that every child has a understanding of gun safety when they leave school, because you live in America. That's going to be an important thing for you. And I think it can go to mitigate a lot of the harms, to get people to see it more like tools as opposed to guns. Because, right now, a lot of the exposure that kids have with guns is, they don't know anything about the safety. All they know is, either, hey, my favorite rapper flashes
at a buddy.
Yeah. Or like, they see like a rapper flashing it. Yeah. Or a video game or something along those lines, where it's more like a toy or some kind of status. Yeah, it's like a toy or some kind of status symbol or something along those lines. I'd like it for kids to have a better appreciation for what they are, because they're not going away, and they shouldn't go away.
I don't know. I think maybe we could do something like that, but I don't know. We'll see.
Just stop living in fear, Prime. Embrace the guns.
Let's go to our friend Corey, then Scott, and Ollie. Excuse me.
A couple of questions. First to Grid One Motorsports, and I guess to Gibbs, although I'm pretty sure I know your answer, but I'll pose it to anyways.
More guns is the answer.
So, but based off of based off what I've heard, okay. So then I assume you're also against, from what I understand, like the law of, like, if you're a bartender and you could just serve alcohol, like should we hold them responsible if the person goes out and drives under the influence to kill someone? Are you for or against that?
This is one of those.
Oh, no, you're good now.
It was just paused.
Yeah, sometimes we can hear. Go on.
I just paused for a minute because this
You're
is
not allowed
one of
to
those
think.
things where
Can't think.
I'm actually on the fence on this. I don't actually believe that a bartender that overserves is necessarily responsible for the actions of the person who keeps buying a drink. I believe in personal responsibility. You're an idiot if you drink too much. If the guy continues to serve you, he's also an idiot. But that's literally
2 idiots make a right.
In that case, and if I support the bartender being responsible for it, then I have to support the bartender calling the cops on that person and putting him in jail if they try and drive.
Based off what I'm hearing, like as right now, like you lean towards like it's a bad law. That law shouldn't exist. We should.
If they fight against the bartender and try
stupid law, and we have enough of those already.
Okay.
Wait,
Wait,
real quick.
can I tag on something to that specific
No, if
conversation?
if the drunk driver's fighting with the bartender to drive his car, I think the bartender should call the cops.
Yeah,
like
I didn't.
So
I didn't say fighting. I didn't say fighting. But
well,
yes,
so there was, you
obviously,
can't
if
drive, and then the guy
fighting me.
walks away to drive, and I go to grab his keys, and he still walks away. I mean, I get resisting.
There was a case.
If you go to grab his keys, you commit assault, sir.
Yeah,
or
that's what I'm
if,
saying.
if
So,
you're
like,
if you're a bartender and you
should
see
call the
somebody
cops then.
being really drunk and you see them going to drive, you should probably call somebody if you see that, if you witness.
Did you like
it.
physically restrain them and like kidnap them?
Yeah, well, I want to say I think
No,
that
call the cops.
I think
Or
I
they're running
agree
out the
with
door.
Grid. I agree with Grid on the idea that just because somebody's being overserved, you can't assume necessarily that they're going to drive, especially if it appears like they're not going to drive. And in that case, I don't think that the bartender should get in any kind of trouble if they're over serving, whatever that means. But if they're going to if they know this person is like drinking a lot and they know they're going to drive,
as in they're walking out the bar like waving their car keys off.
No. I can give you an example, right? Because I actually briefly helped on a case where it was a dram shop litigation, and it was somebody, a bar was getting sued for this because they, first of all, overserved this 17-year-old kid way too much, and then gave him a to-go cup for his liquor. And they knew he was driving. So in a situation like that, yeah, I'm okay with like some level of liability at that point. All right, I'm sorry. Like you knew he was driving, he was underage, and you gave him a to-go cup for like his car.
But they're both idiots, so it's okay, right?
Well, no. In that situation, like obviously, like yes, you can go after the bar. But if you're a bartender and you don't know if this guy's going to go driving, just like you don't know if this drunk guy is going to like pull a gun or like get in a fight or do whatever. I don't think
driving.
Why?
No, wait. If you live in a city that is not a valid assumption.
Right.
But just to follow up, and well, also to that. So Gibbs, I assume you're on the same page of like you.
Yeah, I'm pretty against this. Like in general, I think it's awful that we're doing that like right now as it is. Like, I mean, just the idea, like, first of all, how do you know if they're overserved? Like everybody's tolerance is different. Like I saw that thing with the judges that one time where the one guy was like, "Oh, you have a 0.08," and the judge is like, "I drink 10 of these and go do push-ups." Like, it's like, so everybody's different. I don't like that. And then secondly, like, personal accountability. Do we not have that anymore? Like, we're just like, oh, now we got to watch it. Like, if honestly, and even if we did all these things, where it's like, oh, you got to call the cops or whatever. You know what I would do? I would overserve the shit out of that guy, and then as soon as he's like, all right, close my tab, I'd already had the cops on speed dial, and then you're just like, oh, man, you know what? Maybe can I get a crime stoppers reward too? Like, that's what people should be doing. Like, it's so stupid that we're going to go charge people for their other actions.
Like, it should be good Samaritan.
Gibbs.
Good Samaritan. Fuck all that,
guys. We're let's understand what the real problem is, okay? Right?
You have
like
to.
This idea of personal responsibility,
I don't think it should be
right?
like
We're not talking about like, oh, it's just these individuals' fault. They should be better at regulating. It's the consequences of when people, being human, right, and making their mistakes, right, kill other people. That like
no. It's the consequence of aiding and abetting somebody else doing something wrong, right?
Not aiding and abetting.
You wouldn't sell a gun to Al Qaeda, right? Just like why would you sell like a liquor to somebody who's going to drive?
Gibbs.
Hold on, this is totally.
You don't know they're going to drive. I mean,
Al-Qaeda,
drinking is not illegal.
But that's what's at stake, though. Right? The
No.
stake is that there are other people
totally different
who
scenarios.
they weren't the seller, they weren't the buyer, they were just existing out in the world, and now they're dead, they're gone.
I hate to break it to you, the world's not safe. Like no matter how hard y'all try to make it safe,
because we had an irresponsible like commercial interaction. Like that's like
that's ridiculous.
We regulate commercial interactions all the time. Not everyone here agrees that we should be able to do that, right?
You're not going to affect us with empathy. You got to affect us with logic.
Hold on.
This isn't your crew to hit with, oh, someone died. They don't.
Like, here's my thing. It's so ridiculous that you're going to sit here trying to make that argument. The world's not a safe place. Like, there's always going to be shit happening. And you're going to sit here and go, we got to bubble wrap everybody.
I agree.
I'm going to be more happy with that than the alternative.
But it's going to happen. So why
we can agree with personal responsibility, but we also agree that you can't aid and abet a crime that you believe
I don't think
might very soon happen.
Different.
Oh, wait, let me give you like an example.
Abetting.
Sure, I agree with you. There is 100% agree with you. This is why I think that over-serving somebody shouldn't be a crime. But if you know for a fact that they're going to drive, and you know like how much you're giving them,
How
and
about
you
we go
kind of have
back
an
to-
idea of their tolerance level,
And
and
you
a
give
lot
them
of
a to-go
bartenders,
cup and their 17.
and you give them a to-go cup, right, etc. Like there's all sorts of circumstances. Just like if you sell a gun to somebody, like for example, somebody walks into a gun store, they seem normal. Hey, can I buy this gun? Sure, no problem. Do I think there should be any liability on the gun shop owner? Of course
Yeah,
not.
dude.
Second scenario. Somebody comes in, they're shaking and twitching. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. I want to buy that gun. Are you selling them the gun?
I would absolutely, yeah. And let me tell you.
Oh my god!
Here's why. Because this is something that y'all in this day and age need to learn.
What if it's just a murderous personality? Later.
This is the same reason black people make fun of white people in horror movies. Because y'all hear strange sounds, you go out there. Look, it's called none of my business. It's really that simple. The only business I should care about is the green they're handing me. After that,
the Mexican is coming.
It's quite fair. A lot of people survive in horror movies if they said none of my business. It's because they're looking forward to
more will survive because they'll go be like, you know what? I don't
So to give laws shouldn't exist because it's none of my business.
Is there? Would you sell guns to anybody?
Yes.
Guys.
Well,
just to bolster Gibbs' argument for a minute. Obviously, I used to spend more time in gun shops than I do now, but I used to spend a lot of time in gun shops. I've actually been the guy that saw somebody out in their car crying and kind of, you could see that they were battling with themselves, whether they were even going to come in.
Maybe give that guy a discount.
And they actually literally, we literally did not sell that person a gun because of that, right?
Good man.
We called an officer to do a welfare check because this lady was so distraught. Now, we did not call the cop to arrest her. We literally called for a welfare check. We thought that she was like going to drive out into traffic or something, right? Like this was how upset she looked. I can understand that. But I've also been in there when somebody's been really nervous about buying a gun. It was totally, it was their first time buying a gun. They were really nervous about the process. The entire way that when you go in and fill out a 4473, when you go do that, it's meant to be adversarial to the point that it makes you nervous that you're filling out this form. And in my state, if you fill out the form and you've just forgotten to pay a traffic ticket and you have a warrant, the police are going to come arrest you while you're trying to buy that gun.
But that's
so
not
people
the scenario
are naturally there. I've watched people freaked out about buying a like perfectly normal, they had no problems in life. People
actually out of words. I'm going to kill that person. That's key.
Yeah. But you would agree if somebody comes in a little bit nervous. I understand. Everyone's nervous buying their first gun for sure. I understand.
Let's ignore the words.
Somebody walks in and they look like disheveled, right?
Why is that any of your business?
And they're like muttering and they're muttering threats to themselves.
Yeah, I'm saying, why is that? Who are you to judge why they're sweating or saying these things?
They're muttering to themselves that they're going to kill me.
Wait, I'm going to address you, Gibbs. Give me a second. Okay, so Gibbs, you're going to bite this bullet. It's Lactoid scenario. Change the words. I'm going to kill that kid. You're going to bite that bullet.
Listen, none of my business.
Okay,
I gotta go.
This is.
I would at least do a
this isn't a serious position.
I'm not.
It is a serious position. Goddammit!
No, it's not. You're full of shit.
Don't sell them the gun.
Hold on. Why is this any of my fucking business?
Yeah,
if they're sitting here talking about anything, it's none of my goddamn business. Y'all are so goddamn. Why don't you just sign up and say I'm a fan of the NSA? Like that's ridiculous. Like
you're gonna mandatory.
No, it's not. It's not.
But it is what you're saying. Listen, if you want to suck the NSA's cock more, go ahead. I'm not trying to sit here and suck the NSA's cock. It's none of my business why anybody does anything they do. Yeah, that is what you're doing. If I some guy's insane and the voices are telling something, well, I don't give a shit. I'm not being a patsy. It's
the voices are telling him shit and you're just going to sell him a gun?
I'm sorry that I'm
trying to make conservative opinions look bad.
No, I just don't give a shit. It's not.
You're not honest.
It's a fact. I am honest. I'm the most honest one here.
You're lying to your fucking teeth right now.
No, I'm not lying to you. Hold on. Why is it any of my business? You tell me why it's my business.
The only way.
I don't give a shit. It's not my problem.
The question. I'll answer your question. Why is it your business when you are selling someone? Because you're a fucking human, and if you have reason to believe that someone is going to murder a child, right?
Not my problem. Exactly. Not my kid.
There's only two possibilities.
I'm not gonna worry about that.
You have a genuine ASPD diagnosis, and you need to seek mental help because you're a sociopath that can't have empathy.
I have empathy.
Life.
Yeah, I just don't give a shit about
sociopath
other people.
and stupid.
You're a lying.
I have empathy, but I just don't give a shit about other people.
I mean, yeah,
I don't have empathy, but I give a shit about other people.
As long as
social group, sure.
It cares more about
Sally's
than
kid.
So
If it was Sally's kid, sure, but if it's Bob's kid, yeah, I don't know Bob.
He walks in the store, right, and it's a shape like this, right, on his shirt, right, but it's Trump's face with a bullseye on it, right. Trump's in town, right, to visit, and he's like, oh, he's going. This is his time, right? He dodged this twice before, but this is his time, and you're gonna say, right?
What?
None of my business. As you hand him the rifle.
All Gibbs is thinking about is the publicity coming to his shop. He's like, yo, he bought the gun from my shop. My shop name is gonna be everywhere.
Yeah, bro. Like, listen, we're so good.
Hold on, no such thing as bad publicity, baby.
I'd open up a range. Look, our guns are so good they can even take down the leader of the free world. Like, I mean,
down the untakedownable.
Bro, it's crazy. Okay. Like, yeah, I just can't believe it. Like,
sure, anointed by God. These guns.
I want to try to. So can I go now?
I would not sell him the gun personally.
So we'll go to you. And I have something else to say after that. But go ahead.
So Katya and Lactoid both agreed to a concept of criminal negligence that is prosecutable, or ought to be prosecutable, to parents in the event that their child commits a crime, given two factors, right? One is that they need a reason to believe that they are likely to commit some type of crime, and number two is that they need to have left out access to the means of committing the crime, right? They left a gun unlocked.
Grossly negligent or something along those lines.
Right,
and both
like
should
the
be
kid
proven
knows
beyond
that they have.
doubt.
Right, like they left the handgun on the counter, and the teacher came in and said, here's their journal where they're talking about shooting the specific person, and then like the kid is like, has rage problems and conduct disorder or something, right? Perfect scenario. I am perfectly fine with saying that there is a level of criminal negligence that needs to be prosecuted under those conditions, because a parent is a guardian. However, we need to fix a certain contradiction in the legal theory if we adopt this, which is that if that is true, you cannot charge that child as an adult. Because if you are charging them as an adult, you are recognizing that they have the wherewithal and the ability to be able to act as an adult. So you can't simultaneously say that a 16-year-old is an adult that knew better and chose to commit a crime, and then at the same time say, well, the guardian, the parent of this person's will is responsible for their actions due to their negligence. You have to pick one or the other, right? If you truly genuinely believe that this 16-year-old is capable of standing trial as an adult, then you have to wash your hands of criminal negligence from the parents, unless the parents actively aided and abetted, like intentionally. Like you can't just say, oh, they were negligent and they left a gun out and they shouldn't have. It has to be like, oh, you're going to go shoot up the school? Well, I got some guns for you. Like they have to actually aid and abet in this crime. You can't just say leaving guns around someone that is a known criminal is a criminal act. The similar situation with this over-serving problem, right? If someone says, I'm going to drive, and then you go, oh, well, fuck yeah, have some more alcohol for your drive.
Yeah, don't be a pussy,
Here's a to-go cup for your drive. That's
one
thing. But you can't have... But you can't have someone where you're just quote unquote over serving them and you don't know that they're actually going to go out and drive or anything. You might know that they had a DUI in the past because they're drunk in your bar, but you can't be criminally negligible just because of past behavior or likelihood of behavior when you gave them alcohol, because the moment that you start doing that is the moment that we have all of these other problems. So we have to resolve a contradiction. If you're going to stand trial as an adult, then we recognize that you had the wherewithal to act as an adult. And if you have the wherewithal to act as an adult, then the parents can't be criminally negligible
hold on.
just for leaving
I'm a
a gun
juvenile
out.
justice advocate. I can absolutely agree with
that. Hun, you said like not on past behavior, right? But we do that for past behavior all the time, right? Like if we know, you just happen to know that this person like has like killed, like has just gotten out of jail for like killing people in like a vehicular manslaughter or whatever, right? Vehicular homicide type case for DUI, right? And you're like, well, I'm going to like overserve this person alcohol again, whenever that means for this individual, right? But like overserve them, like that means nothing, right? Like or
let's
that might be
take a different
negligence,
example, right?
but also
let's say
I don't know
let's say
how
my
much-
roommate let's say my roommate has been convicted, and I'm in a lease with them, right? So like I can't get out, and they've been convicted like once or twice for domestic violence, right? Now they are an adult. If I have a bat in my house, right, I'm not aiding and abetting him beating his girlfriend with a bat because I have a bat in the house. It's not my legal responsibility to try and hide everything from a potentially dangerous
that's not
person.
the same thing, right? As serving, like actively serving an individual, right?
Well, that's
like,
it is. Well, I mean, yeah. There's a positive action occurring, right? Which is that you're giving them a drink, right?
Yeah.
But you're not giving them car keys to go out and drive. You're just giving them drink.
Yeah, they should call Uber
for their own behavior, right? Like it's now if they tell you, like I said, if they tell you over and over again, I plan on driving tonight, and like you know that they had a DUI, and now you get into this position where you're aiding and abetting because you know that the goal of their behavior is to engage in criminal behavior, and you are doing what you can to increase that criminal behavior.
All I'm saying is that like it seems like at some point, if there is something that happened within the past, right, that past knowledge would be helpful, right? Like or
well, yeah, I mean, we can talk about that from a moral perspective, right? No, like, not moral. Morally, I shouldn't leave a bat in my fucking living room if my roommate fucking legally.
Like, I think it'd be substantive, right? Like if you know that in the like this person has had like you said previously, like you know a person has had rage issues, and like they acted out in those rage issues in the past, and then you like give them a access to a weapon, right? Like you got past knowledge, right? They haven't said they're going to do anything in the future. Right now in the present,
that's the problem. That's the problem. Is that it'd be similar if like let's say maybe it's not a bat now, maybe it's leaving the kitchen knives that were already there in the kitchen, right? Am I responsible if he stabs his girlfriend?
No, I'm talking no. Again, I'm talking about giving it. So I said specifically give access to. Or, sorry, maybe I shouldn't use the word access.
Well, he would be given access by virtue.
If you say so like, you're gonna go beat your girlfriend, cool. Here's my baseball bat.
Exactly. Then we're aiding and abetting, right? Like we're aiding and abetting if I know that he's going to commit a crime, and then I give him.
But hold on, there's a difference between what y'all
like. My only thing, but pushback here is that, like you said, like we shouldn't take into like past actions. Take into account past actions.
That's a moral thing. That's not a legal.
I have a better example.
Okay, you might.
You can't legislate that, right? Like I agree with you that it would be wrong for a bartender to keep feeding drinks to someone that they know had a DUI in the past. I think that's wrong, right? But it is an adult. They have their responsibility. I'm not legally culpable, right? If you go and do something wrong, and I even though I'm a part of it because I don't know that that's your plan or your goal. If you tell me your plan and your goal, and then after you tell me, I engage in giving you the means by which to engage in a crime, then I become a party to that crime. It's just like second-degree murder when I drive the getaway car in a robbery. You know, like I'm involved in this crime.
Yeah, but these are different types of crimes. You're skipping over a big part of this, though. Y'all are both skipping over a big part of this, though, with the like what type of crime it is. Like one of them in the scenario you just described, the getaway driver, right? This guy's actively taking part in like an active crime. Right? Okay. All right. Say like you go, oh, this guy's doing the gun thing, whatever. Like if you're a shop owner and you're like own the shop, it's a lot different if like, hey, somebody comes in, they do something like, I don't know, DWI, where they like accidentally cause a crime. And you're saying, oh, it's a criminal behavior because they're driving drunk or whatever. Like you don't know for sure. Either they tell you to do something. Like how many guys do you know that think that they could beat Conor McGregor in a fight, right? And like, oh, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna fight someone. You know, like they're not actually gonna go fight someone. They're gonna get like somebody in their face. They're like, okay, I'm gonna leave. You know, like this is none of your business. It's none of your business. And like y'all are acting like I'm sitting here. Well, like, he famous as I'm grifting when he just has a worse, more lying argument than what I have, which is the honesty. It's none of my business. And you can try to moralize this however you want, but you're the one who's actually grifting.
Let me engage about it. I'll engage because I'm going to engage because I call him a lying grifter or ASPD. So I'm just going to. Let me just because he addressed me specifically, right? Listen, there is a difference. There is a difference between aiding and abetting in a DUI, right? That is a limit case, right? I agree that is a limit case. And as an anarchist, I don't want any new fucking laws. I'm talking about the concept of a legal theory and whether or not you're legally culpable. It's very different than whether or not I would put this into law. There's a difference between that and what you were asked, which was a person is muttering that they're going to kill someone, and then you decide to sell them a firearm, and then you talk about giving people discounts, right? Because you think that they're
because it's your right to own a gun. It's your right to own a gun as a gun shop. You're actually being the most American thing.
Your right to own a gun.
Why should a crazy person not have a gun? Like I don't understand the argument there.
Yeah. I want to.
Everybody.
It's also your right as a private business to deny service to anyone.
We'll go to our friend.
Let
Craig have his hand up, and then we'll go to Grid. Okay.
Yeah, I want to briefly.
It's not my argument. It's an immediate.
Somewhat defend. I understand like the contradiction, Scott, that you're bringing up. I don't think it's necessarily a contradiction. And even if it is, like you can accomplish the exact same like system by just calling it something else, right? So I'm gonna first kind of steel man why it's not actually a contradiction. When we talk about charging children as adults,
that's not steel manning.
Maybe it's not steel manning.
Your argument.
I will make my argument, which is sort of steel manning, because I do somewhat agree that we probably should.
You just got lawyered.
Charging children as adults, right? So it's sort of a steel man here. When you charge a child as an adult, you're not necessarily saying that they're an adult. You're saying that there are certain things that a child should know as well as an adult does. And so for a lot of crimes, it's not the case that we expect children to know these things as well as an adult. But for specific crimes, it is. So like homicide, for example, when you're 13, or I guess in my state, 12, as of a major high-profile case a few years ago, the idea is, like at 12, you should know that murder is wrong just as well as an 18-year-old does, like flat out.
Right.
Now, I agree this is like problematic, but if you have somebody who believes this, they're not necessarily being contradictory by saying, we can charge this person as an adult because they're a child who is under the guardianship of an actual adult, and that person should also be charged for aiding and abetting or negligently facilitating this. But also, the child should know as well as an adult that they shouldn't be doing this, so we can charge them as an adult as well.
But the contradiction is still there, right? So because we're individuating in this case around the action that the child took, right? So it's not like, I understand that you could say a child at 13 knows that they shouldn't murder, but that doesn't mean that they're ready to be a child bride, right? Like that is logical and rational, and I get that argument completely. But we're not engaging in all of the things they should or should not know. What we're engaging in is, let's say, a school shooting, right? If someone is 14 or 13 and they engage in a school shooting and we charge them as an adult because they ought to be able to know, or not just ought, but the court determines that they have the mental faculty to know that it is wrong to do that, then I would say that this standard of criminal negligence cannot be simply leaving things around, because the act that we are now, you may be able to make some other argument about criminal negligence in general, right? But you can't make an argument about criminal negligence based off of the consequences of the school shooting, right? You could maybe charge them with some misdemeanor of criminal negligence because an adult shouldn't do these things with a child, like leave guns around, and, you know, like, especially if they had like some knowledge of like their issues, et cetera. But you can't charge them with, let's say, some form of like second-degree murder level of criminal negligence based off of an action that you're also charging the other person as an adult. You see what I'm saying? That's where the contradiction comes in, because
I think you could, but here's the problem. It doesn't even necessarily matter.
You
because
could do a lot of things. I'm talking about
because
law.
we could simply like
they do.
We could have the,
you know what I mean?
We could have the current scheme if we just remove the wording of charge a child as an adult and just simply replace that with the phrase charge a child for a crime that they should have known.
It wouldn't resolve the contradiction. It would just be legalese getting around actual natural law. The contradiction is that you are charging them as an adult. You could rename it. You could rename it, right, and say that, like, but if you are acting as if they have the capacity to act as a moral actor or as a moral agent in this domain, then you are saying that they have the faculty to do such.
So,
which means that they're no longer under the guardianship rule here.
Well, let me just quickly. So, like, I guess the part maybe that we disagree with is like, I think that if you have an adult child that you know is like experiencing like psychosis or like some kind of aggressive tendencies, and you leave a gun for them, like I also think that you should be charged in the similar way to if it's a child. And so for me, it's not necessarily about whether or not the child has the wherewithal. That's the argument they're making when they charge children with adults. But I think you could charge them both, right? I think that's reasonable. I think you can even do it when they're a child. But again, the idea of charging a child as an adult, the idea as well.
Why is a gun special? Because like you wouldn't say that about kitchen knives, would you? Would you say that about kitchen? Like if your son, if you have a 19-year-old son or daughter that is like crazy, would you say that if they decide to go grab a kitchen knife and stab someone, that you should be criminally negligent because you have kitchen knives in your home?
But I wouldn't say that about a 14-year-old either, which you would agree with. So yeah, I think kitchen knives are like.
Repeat.
So you're saying, well, would you say that about a kitchen knife? And I would say no, because a kitchen knife is just like so much less capable than a gun. In the same way, but I would apply that to both minors and adults. So like if I had a 14-year-old who was expressing suicide, like homicidal ideation at school, I think I should be held responsible if I leave my gun out, but I don't think I should be held responsible if I forget a kitchen knife in the dishwasher, right?
Okay,
but like even if they're a homicidal,
the difference between they're both force multiplier weapons that you can use to murder people.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to bring up something that you said to Ollie. I think it's very important. There is like a reasonable understanding here. Like there needs to be like a reasonable standard when it comes to evaluating these rules, and the level of burden placed upon me having to lock up my kitchen knives is so much higher for something that is such a smaller force magnifier compared to a gun, which is a very large force magnifier, that locking it up is not nearly as much of like an impediment on my rights and as on my like everyday function as requiring me to lock up.
According to who, Lactoid? According to who?
If you can't,
wait, hold on, don't
differentiate between the two.
Wait, hold on.
Out of the
nobody's letting this go.
I can explain Fabian's argument
That's ridiculous.
in a way that you might understand.
You're out of the domain.
Hey, we gotta. Okay, so we're gonna let Scott finish his point, right? We're gonna go to Grid. We're gonna go to Katya. We're gonna go to Gibbs. Okay.
Yeah, you haven't differentiated from a position of rights. You've only differentiated from a position of what you believe the risk reward is, right? The risk and the reward in terms of like the infringement on someone. So what you're saying is it is reasonable to violate human rights. It's only reasonable to violate human rights in situations with a gun because the gun is more powerful and a bigger force multiplier, but it's unreasonable to do so with a knife because it's a more strenuous and more difficult infringement upon that person's liberty. But you haven't resolved the contradiction. You've only just said that, well, it's easier to do it with guns.
Well, let me address that specifically.
I don't buy that as an argument.
No, but I think it is a strong. I think it is a strong argument though, because again, I think there's a gradient here, right? There could be a situation in which you know somebody who has like such a high level of threat that you perhaps have an obligation to lock up your kitchen knives, but you can turn anything into a weapon. And so let me ask you this. Let's say you have a 14-year-old who's expressing homicidal ideation, right? You've already agreed. I think you agreed with Katya's two-pronged test, which is they know this person might be a threat, might be more likely, right? We're talking about a likelihood scenario, might be more likely to kill somebody, and that they left this weapon out. Okay, what if I leave out a pencil? You can kill somebody with a pencil. So I leave out a pencil. I know that they're dangerous. I know that I was negligent when I left my pencil out. Should I be held responsible if they take that pencil and stab somebody? What about an eraser? They use the eraser to plug someone's nostrils and then they or throw it down their throat, choke them. Something crazy. Like they use something that you wouldn't think could be a weapon because people do this shit, and like all of a sudden they were able to use it as a weapon. I think that the force magnifier matters when we're evaluating the reasonableness of somebody's actions. If you have a firearm at home, it's more reasonable for me to expect you to lock that up if you have like a mentally unwell teenager than it is the pencil. And it's very, I think, reasonable that you shouldn't let like a mentally ill like teenager have access to like nuclear codes or whatever, because that would be incredibly irresponsible. In fact, it's so irresponsible that maybe even a normal person shouldn't have access to nuclear codes.
You left out the mechanism, right? So what you didn't steal my position, right? Because my position in agreeing with the criminal negligence, right, is that this person is saying they're going to shoot up the school. They have reason to believe they're going to to shoot up the school. Then you give them the means to do that. If this person said they were going to stab someone, it would also be reasonable to lock up the knives that they want to use to stab someone, right? It's the mechanism by which that they are aware of.
What if
right?
it's a non-mechanistic threat? What if they just say, I'm going to kill kids at school? At that point, what obligation do you have to lock up what in your house?
Make sure you don't have the spoons out.
Question.
I
would say guns for sure.
Hold on. Right, yeah. I would say
Hide the
that's
Clorox
fair.
is going to make
I'd have to
anthrax
think
or
about
something.
that. I would
Well, that's what
have
I'm
to
saying.
think about where that line is.
There is a line. Hold on. Exactly. But this is what I'm talking about. When we're talking about where we're putting the line, now we've established it's not like a like hard line, black and white thing. We actually have to like think about like, well, what is the force magnifier of all the particular objects within my house that could be used as a weapon, and how reasonable is it to expect me to lock those up?
If you have to draw that line, if I cannot find a logical reason to draw that line that isn't based off of consequences, then it has to be a voluntary situation that is agreed upon via contract beforehand, as far as legal systems are concerned. Because if the only reason that you're going to do something is based off of the potential outcomes in that regard, then you can't violate someone's rights based off of those metrics. So I would have to investigate to see if there is a logical difference in terms of violation rights.
So you'd pass regulation then, right? Yeah. That's what you meant.
Oh my
well, no, all laws passed by the state are unjustified.
Within your NCAP community.
Yeah, it would be like a common law voluntary system that you would engage with it within your community.
Okay.
And like in terms of
go to grid.
in terms of what I said, the state is justified in doing in that regard. If I can't come up with where that line is logically drawn and is only drawn based off of presumed consequences, right, then it is a right that can't be violated by the state.
So I think the difference here is like when we're talking about like restrictions on anything, we are presuming consequences, right? The whole idea of restricting any kind of weapon is the idea of what's going to happen if this person gets a hold of the gun. In fact, this is the whole purpose of the crazy person entering the gun store example. If somebody's walking into a gun store shaking, saying, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to kill him, like it's possible. It's hold on. You're saying it's intensive behavior.
That's what changes
it could be. Hold on. It could be.
No, that's not true.
Hold on. It could be a nervous tick, and he actually couldn't mean it. Perhaps it could be the case that he could have Tourette's. It's possible, but I'm predicting that it's not the case.
None of my business. None of my business.
Okay, I understand.
It's not from a legal perspective. It's not consequential outcomes. It's understanding the mechanism and intent, right? So, like Grid Motorsports said, there are plenty of reasonable times where someone is nervous.
You have
to know a mechanism.
Guys, we have
to. Wait, Prime. Can I just because it's not. Whenever we're making whenever we're making any kind of observations of somebody's behavior, you never know if their behavior is matching what their actual internal mechanisms are. You're simply making a predictive guess. And so I am predicting that this person is actually intending to kill somebody, which is why I'm measuring the consequences, selling them the gun, and not doing it.
But aggression isn't based off of predictions. It's based off of an understanding of intent.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're stating you're going to do something and then you're like actively obtaining the means to do it, right? And then you're the person who will hand them over.
I agree. You said that you were going to do something, right? That's the key.
So let's
go ahead, Grid.
Because we traveled far and wide here, so I'm going to try and rein it in a little bit. So first of all, kind of to Gibbs's point, if someone like him, dressed like him, and the shirt and the hair and the beard and everything, he came in. And he wants to buy a baseball bat in my sporting goods store, and he says, and I say, hey man, that's a sweet bat you picked out. And he says, yeah, I'm gonna beat my wife to death with it. And I'm gonna still sell him the ball bat, right? Or am I not?
I wouldn't.
Am I not gonna sell him the baseball bat?
Well, that's a personal decision.
And if I do, if he goes up to the counter, he checks out, he goes home, he beats his wife to death with a ball bat. Am I then responsible because I didn't tell my manager that, hey, this weirdo in a beard and a flowered shirt came in and said he was going to beat his wife to death with a baseball bat?
What? Good. What about we?
And he
probably shouldn't sell a baseball bat.
What if we change it slightly?
I think you might actually should be charged in that regard.
Oh my God!
Specifically laid it out.
Yeah, Grid. What if he came
He
in
said,
there
"I'm going to commit a
and-
crime."
Yeah. What if
we
he
all
said
say that, like,
specifically? Hold on.
joking. I mean,
We all say
you
this
don't
in
know,
this world.
like, what
Hold
if it's like a
Grid,
joke?
hold on.
Like,
Let's change it slightly, right? What if he
You
says
can't control yourself for 10 minutes?
What if he? Oh my God, people! Yeah. So what if he said, "Hey, I'm in the market for a baseball bat. Right? What will be good for beating my wife?" What if he said that? Right?
Like,
Would
that's
you
a
sell
joke.
him the gun?
That's clearly
and
a
would you be
joke to us.
responsible?
that would actually, I would clearly take that as a joke.
Oh no
I
no
would
no no no
clearly-
no! He's very serious. Like here's
Yeah,
a
I said
picture
a
of her,
deadpan.
right? Here's a picture of my bitch wife who I can't stand for these reasons, right? I got a whole list of them, right?
Especially
and
if he
he's
said,
like
"My bitch wife."
clearly
This
filled
guy
with
That would
rage.
make it. Yeah, I would think it was more of a joke. And especially if they were straight deadpan, like, my bitch wife.
Come on, guys.
He's clearly filled with rage, right? You're saying that like you
You
hold
know
like
what?
you're
Hold
showing
on,
no
now
culpability.
you change the dynamic. If he's clearly filled with rage, and he's not just saying it deadpan, where it could conceivably be a joke, then now you've changed the dynamic. You said filled with rage. I
Okay.
don't interact with people that are filled with rage anyway.
Oh, okay. So then we have a line, right? So we can say
Obviously, there's always a line. That's
okay.
that's my point here. Is that you can't tell that just because somebody comes in muttering that that they're an issue. Now maybe you might have some inkling. You might look and you may notice other signs. People are perceptive, right?
Sure.
Especially people who work in gun stores and sporting goods stores and places like that. Even people that work in car rental agencies often spot drug mules because they know what to look for in the way they act.
Well, yeah,
right?
sure, exactly. So I'm saying that like there are reasonable
but
lines,
that's
and you're
different
agreeing
than
there
a
are reasonable
man-
lines. So I'm just like moving the line, right? So like,
Yeah, I understand.
it's true that you may not know it's a joke, and I think that's fair, right? And you're like, well, I don't know, maybe this guy was just like playing around with me, but like, why wouldn't? Okay, now I'm getting into morals rather than the legal system. Because I would say like
it's very simple. It's very simple. The subjective assessment, right, is not something that we ought or can engage in law, right? But when someone objectively says, "I'm going to commit said crime with this," and then you sell them, right?
That's still moral. That's moralistic.
No, but your subjective assessment of whether or not they are serious is not what's at play here, right? What's at play here is that they told you explicitly what it is that they were planning to do.
And why does that
I'm
matter
saying
other than morally?
You should not be able to sell someone a weapon when they say, "I am going to use said weapon to commit said crime." It's very different when someone's muttering or nervous. That's the domain of morality.
All right.
I got a response to this. I'm ready.
I want to engage with you.
We're
on
gonna
this
go
in an
to Grid,
honest way.
Katya, Gibbs, and
Then we got to get on the topic.
I think language is subjective
I
exercise.
hate to continue to address just Scott here, but so I was when I went to a military school, and I was actually walking one night with one of the staff there, Colonel Spain, and we're walking down this footpath or sidewalk, whatever the fuck it was, and it's a moonlit night, and we were talking about something that the teams needed to do the following day, and he looks up and he says, "It's a good night for killing." And I mean straight deadpan. And this is a guy that stacked a lot of bodies. Should I have been afraid for my life?
That's subjective.
That again, the subjective
Yeah,
play
straight
about
deadpan,
whether or
and
not
this is the guy that kills
no,
people.
right? But hold on, but no, the subjective, your subjective assessment about whether or not you think someone is joking is not what's at play. Because what I'm saying is when you are in charge of the sale or distribution of an item, and then someone says, "I'm going to use said item to commit a crime," and then you give them said item, that is where the situation changed.
We're putting a lot of responsibility.
Should you or should you not have been?
Employees.
I don't think it's a big responsibility to say that if someone says, "I'm going to commit a crime with this thing," and then you give them the thing and then they go commit the crime.
Moralist argument.
You have some culpability.
Let's go. Let's go to Katya. Hold on. Let's go to Katya. Then we'll go to Gibbs. Don't worry, Gibbs. And then
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it depends, obviously. Like, a lot of these things are down to how obvious it is that somebody's joking or not, which that's why it's a difficult area if you wanted to legislate anything. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Like, it's just a really tough issue. Obviously, if you hear this and you give somebody or sell somebody the means to commit a crime that they say, I'm gonna go do it. Yeah, that's a difficult thing to legislate. In a lot of circumstances, I think that it shouldn't be legislated. But I do think that there is a line in which these like businesses that do so might be open to, like, let's say, like civil litigation over this. Like somebody who's a victim might be able to sue over it.
Let me be clear. I'm not advocating that this law be put in place. I'm describing theoretically in terms of natural law perspective about whether, like, I'm purely speaking on is distinction.
It's
I'm
a
not
great
saying
law.
the United States government ought be able to legislate and prosecute
You don't think the United States
people
government should
based
do
off of
anything, or
statements
do
in
anything at
stores.
all?
No, it's a great law, and it wouldn't be that hard to enforce. You would simply enforce it the way you enforce every other law, right? You have a jury. They have a reasonable person standard, which is they look at this person. If the jury decides, like, if a reasonable person were in the position of this, like, gun store salesperson, and they sold this person a gun, was it reasonable to believe that they were selling a gun to somebody they should have known was about to go use it to commit a violent felony? And if they were, probably, there should be some responsibility there. Just like this is the case when it comes to any kind of negligence or any kind of recklessness.
Hey, well, let me ask you something really quick, Electric. Then we're going to go to Gibbs, and I know his answer to this question already, so I'm going to have to ask him. But if it was a gun company, right, a gun maker, manufacturer, right, and they provided weapons to a drug cartel, right? They knew it was a drug cartel for however way. They knew it was a drug cartel.
Gun running.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah, like, would you say
Gun running for the
that
cartel.
they are
You mean like the government did in
irresponsible
Fast and
and
Furious?
there should be legal consequences? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Fair enough.
I agree. Obama should be in prison.
Same thing with the drug cartel.
Great.
If it's Al Qaeda, if it's any personal
And Reagan.
organization that a reasonable person would expect, hey, these guns are going to go be used for criminal purposes. But because the vast majority of gun owners are law-abiding citizens, I don't think that's just like a reasonable belief right off the bat. It has to be a case-by-case basis.
Fair enough. Gibbs, please. You've been waiting.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll go
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not going to bother with that answer. I mean, there is an exception for this in my book, and it's foreign entities that are, like, against America. There's the exception there. Like, but otherwise, I don't have a problem with that, and, like, morally. But we'll engage in this, like, thought exercise y'all want to. All right, a gun's the same as any knife. Guns are tools first. People have used for thousands of years. People have used farm equipment as weapons. Spears, scythes, knives. All of this is, if I took a combine and covered it in concrete, that we turn it into a Killdozer 2, that's a way larger force multiplier than, like, a handgun, right? Sorry, whatever. What if some dude, for example, comes into my store, and I own Walmart. I don't even sell guns, right? Like, well, Walmart does, but say I own, like, a mom and pop grocery. I don't sell guns. And he's like, looks dirty. He's muttering crazy shit. And he decides, I'm going to go buy some bleach and ammonia. Should I, like, not let this guy buy bleach and ammonia? Maybe he's going to clean his dirty ass house. He's clearly dirty. Or maybe he's going to make chlorine gas. Now, that's going to kill a lot more people than, I don't know, your regular pistol or something going around. I don't know. Well, in fact, on that same note, when I was working at the water plant in my hometown, right, there was valves that I could have turned, with maybe just the most basic background check. I was like some 18-year-old kid. I could have turned a valve and released thousands of tons of fucking chemicals into the water and just, like, kill people before they could have stopped. Like, don't even know what happened. There were other valves I could have hit that would have released gases that they would have probably been able to stop, but people in the immediate vicinity would have died. Now, that's a way larger force multiplier. That would have just required a wrench. So this all argument really is a sliding scale thing. Y'all just don't particularly like guns because there's other things that are bigger force.
You probably shouldn't have been you should have been able to be in that position.
Well, you're an 18-year-old kid. You're working as an internship there. Like, you don't know. Like, I mean, I just thought about these things. Like, these people working in the electrical department. Are you going to stop people from apprenticing as electricians?
Wait. You had unsupervised access to large amounts of deadly chemical gas.
Yeah, I was like, it was easy.
Yeah, I would say that perhaps that should not be the case.
I mean, why? I've never had done anything before. I was like 18 years
old. No, you're right. Yeah, you have.
You know what? Sure. Okay, going on. This whole argument about, like, hey, what we should do about it, honestly, is moralistic. And I'm going to take issue. And I take issue when people say natural law. I get that it's a philosophy concept, and, like, we can argue about that. But I really hate it because really the only true natural law is, like, survival of the fittest. Animals eat neither. And I'm not preaching for social Darwinism. That's really true natural law. So when we talk about natural law, I'm going to prefer to think because natural law is a concept. It's philosophical. And all these other ideas that y'all are talking about, like the greater good, is also all stem from religious origin. Morals, in fact, stem from religion origin. If I were to take cannibalistic tribes, they're going to say their ideas of why cannibalism is justified is going to be their moral system. So guess what? Are you saying that their moral system is any less than your Western idea of morality and the greater good, or all these Eastern ideas of the greater? Like, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to argue, no, they're not better than theirs. And there's this idea that I should give a shit about what happens after they buy the bat, after he says he's going to beat his wife, or buy if he's going to make gas with bleach and ammonia is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And if we actually believe in separation of church and state, then we shouldn't have laws based on morality, because guess what? Now you fucking got fucking church and state combined. You're welcome. Thank you.
Look at Corey's face.
That's awesome. That was awesome.
You didn't know that Corey was actually a religious doctor.
He just said like 20 verifiably false things.
They're all true.
It's okay. It's okay.
I mean, but you didn't consider the cannibals, Scott, right? Like, check and mate, all right? You didn't consider the cannibals.
The cannibals are they follow a moral system, correct or no? Do they cannibals have a moral system? In Papua New Guinea, are you strong? Listen, that's
they probably do.
Like,
yeah, they have some moral
do you actually? I'm just curious. Do you actually believe that's an argument?
Yeah,
I'm just curious 100%. If you're that retarded.
Oh yeah, I guess I'm retarded. I'm sorry that I'm a little more accepting of other cultures than you are.
Okay, so just
I'm not a relativist. Some
I mean, I'm not a relativist at all. I'm just saying all of them are equally fucking stupid. There's no morals. And animals just do whatever the fuck they want anytime they want to. We're all animals.
I really
just higher
enjoyed engaging in this, all of this.
Law of the jungle.
The fact is that to be an FFL and to work at an FFL selling guns, you do actually have to be observant of who you're selling to, look for straw purchases and all of that sort of thing. That's a law it's not specific, obviously civilians don't have to worry about it, but if you're in the industry, that is part of your agreement to be able to sell guns commercially. So while I've enjoyed engaging in all of this, it's all a moot point, because you couldn't buy a gun anyway if they don't want to sell it to you, if they have any reason to believe that you're committing a straw purchase, if you intend to harm yourself or others, or there's any amount of distress involved, such as you're buying it to commit a crime. So just to put that out there,
it's not a moot point. They're testing the philosophy.
I understand the philosophy, but
criminal negligence.
When you say there should be a law, it already exists. The law already exists.
A law can exist, and you can say there should be a law, right? Like
there should be a better law.
An ought claim isn't necessarily dependent upon what already is, right? If I say there ought be this law and the law exists, that doesn't mean that I'm false for saying that there ought be said law. It just means that the law does exist.
Yeah.
Right, but when we say it's a moot point, it's not a moot point, because the entire reason to go into that purview was the comparison of parents and civilians.
Okay, let's go to Corey, and then we'll move on to the topic.
Oh, what a great debate. Give us walking. Okay, so as usual, you seem to operate in whatever platitudes or just catchphrases. Okay, so there's nothing. Okay, there's nothing in the sale of a gun there's nothing that the prospective buyer can say that will stop you from selling the gun.
Well, there is one scenario.
Okay,
if they were like, I'm going to take this gun immediately and shoot you, I would probably not sell them the bullets.
Okay,
I would shoot them first.
It's selling the gun, but not the bullets.
Yeah,
smart man.
Okay,
so maybe take the spring out of there.
Yeah, I got it. So, but aside from that, okay, it's pretty much anything goes speech-wise during the sale of a gun. That's your operating principle.
It's none of my business.
Okay, yeah, and the platitude and the catchphrase. So you want to backtrack on your mandatory reporting position, as in, if they say I'm going to go molest a child, you're not going to report that, right? None of my business.
I mean, that's a little different, but once again, and I'll tell you why, because you used the word kid earlier, and kid's a type of goat. So, I mean, I'm just saying, they could have been talking about killing goats. That's a regular thing on the farm. I'm just saying.
Weasel. They specify human child.
Yeah. Well, there's a picture of the child.
Susie. None of your business. Law of the jungle.
Once again, who am I to know? Maybe that's their tick. Who knows? Yeah, I mean,
it's a tick.
They got one of those. Gibbs doesn't have his law degree.
Hold up a picture.
Prime, they got one of those T-shirts that you see in the hood that's like a person's face and RIP, and you're like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize Susie died." And you're like, "She will after I get this gun."
I'm gonna be like, damn, like I'm gonna be like, damn, does she have cancer or what? Like, maybe like, how do you know that's the reason they're gonna die is the gun?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We didn't even get into mercy killings.
Maybe she's got like a brain-eating amoeba. Who knows?
So, but seriously, like,
he's just trying to shoot
the
brain-eating amoeba. Listen, and he's trying to kill the brain-eating amoeba with the bullets. That's all he's trying to do.
I mean, it's not even that. It's maybe it's the mercy. You don't know what situation is.
None. If you're serious about we should report a person threatening to molest a child, right? Or you should have designated reporters, right? And I don't know why you feel a gun would be any different, right? Like I'm gonna.
There's a big difference between a person who's like, listen, it's one person, right? He's the seller, he owns a store. I own a store, right? Beep beep. I own a store. Some guy comes in and says, "Hey, I'm gonna molest the kid." Okay, cool. I'm gonna fucking call this, CPS up or somebody up, right? Whatever. Same thing. Well, hold on. You're right. Yeah, you're right. It's none of my business. And I'm just like, I don't want no kids. Designated reporters. Hold on, but here's what I'm gonna do in the solution with the gun. I'm still a business owner. Beep beep. Guy comes in, goes, "I'm gonna shoot that kid." I'm gonna go, "Okay. Here's your gun. Here's your ammo. Here's the thing." And then as soon as he leaves, all right, this guy right here just said he's gonna go shoot a kid. Maybe investigate that. Why is it any of my business? For sure what happens after that. It's not
catchphrases.
It's not any of my business.
It's fine. Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, it's not even serious, but like y'all are giving me these moralistic arguments.
It's 10 o'clock.
Like, what is the point though? Like,
there is no point. Yeah, that's right. Nothing matters. Okay, we can move on with our lives. This
has been fun.
This has been fun. Like, welcome to our free topics. Like, this is not planned. I didn't expect us to go in this direction.
All according to the script, the Gibbs script.
But we had a good. I actually, had a good time. And it's great that we actually came to some consensus here. Well, everyone except for Gibbs, but Gibbs, you're a special snowflake here, so don't worry. But like come to some agreement on this. I didn't think we would at all. Like we very rarely come to any sort of agreement on guns. So it was a surprise. But okay, let's get into it. First of all, if you are out there, consider supporting the channel. Subs to the channel, give bits or give subs. It was a brand new month. So our leaderboards are completely clear. Consider helping out the channel so that we can continue providing you with this content. So subs to the channel, give bits or give subs, or you have an Amazon Prime Gaming, use their one free sub here. Free for you, but does a lot for us. You get ad free viewing, and you get our emotes. So we'd really appreciate it if you could do that for the channel. What else? Also subscribe or follow the channel. Follow the channel on Twitch. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, we will respond to your super chat. So you have like a super chat. I want to get an answer from us on anything. We will be doing those responses, so we're looking out for your super chats. All right, let's go to let's do the thing. We can introduce people. We'll just do it quickly, right? It's like we didn't do that before. This is Reverie Roundtable, which we have Mondays 8 p.m. Eastern. We got our friend Lactoid. Say hi, Lactoid.
Hi, Lactoid.
My friend Scott. Thank you, Scott. Corey.
Fabian Liberty everywhere. There you go.
Liberty everywhere. Corey Campbell. Thank you so much. Gibbs, right? Who could forget? Katja. Thank you, Katja. We have our friend Ali here. And Grid, who's been a great addition so far. So thanks all. So let's jump into the main topic, right? Hunter Biden, who was convicted on federal charges, has now been pardoned by his father, President Joe Biden. This is after months of Joe Biden, promising not to do so. Shock and outrage is being expressed across the political spectrum as this move is seen as an act of nepotism. But should that matter? Ivanka Trump was accused of using her White House position to get her personal business trademarks approved in China during the first Trump presidency. Should that be of a concern to the public? For his second term, Trump has nominated one of his donors who has no military experience to be the Secretary of the Navy. Is that a problem? Is it at all an issue when politicians are doing favors for friends and family? If you think it is, would you make nepotism and favoritism illegal? And would you vigorously apply that standard to the president, whoever that president might be? Yeah, like big news. I was searching around for a topic. It's like a pain. It's gonna be difficult to come up with a topic for this channel sometime. But like I just like popped up a news site, right? And then it was right there, headline. Yeah, we're talking about that. Biden has made a pretty big deal about how he was not going to interfere with the DOJ, right? We're going to respect those norms. Not like those silly Republicans. It's not. We respect law. And he had his foolish White House press secretary go out and there's supercuts of her like talking about how absolutely not would Biden pardon his son, right? We're going to respect the justice system, the process. And then I guess not. Mind changed. But we see these types of things happen all the time. There's another example, a more direct example on Trump's end, which would be his son-in-law's father, right? Kushner, I forget his first name. There's Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, but like his father's something Kushner. He was convicted of some weird shit. Oh boy, weird shit, right? Like federal crimes. And this guy deserved it, absolutely, right? He had him dead to rights, and it was even before the Trump administration. And he was already in prison for his federal crimes. Trump pardoned his son-in-law's father, and now has appointed him ambassador to France. That same person, previously convicted of federal charges. So this happens on both sides, but like I don't know, it's a big deal. Does it matter? Find out. So we'll start with friend Lactoid, work our way around.
Got a lot of thoughts on this. I'll try to condense it pretty quickly. First of all, yeah, Biden lied. Surprise. You got lying there. Absolutely. He said he wouldn't do it. Then he did. Is it nepotism? Sure, for sure. Do I think nepotism is bad? Yes. Do I think it's unavoidable in certain circumstances? I do. I think the president has the right, the constitutional right to pardon. The president also has the constitutional right to appoint different people to different cabinet positions. So no, I don't think that we have a way of stopping that. And I think that the unintended consequences of preventing that could be relatively extreme, especially because the president is set up as a branch of government, and preventing that branch of government from being able to operate as the people elected that branch of government to do runs into constitutional concerns and concerns for democracy and the republic. Now, the other thing I've noticed is the whataboutism, machine is in full drive. That's like the only response to this, which is like, yeah, he lied, but hey, the Republicans lie all the time, so I mean, we're not that bad. I don't know. I think it's it's hilarious that the whataboutism machine it's constant. I think it's hilarious when people say, well, Hunter Biden was just selectively prosecuted, when the same people telling me this can't tell me why Trump was charged with those felonies in the New York case. They can't explain to me the mechanism of what Trump did or what he should have done differently. And then they try and they get it wrong because that had never been applied to anybody other than Trump, right? Because there was an absolute special, a particular prosecution against Donald Trump on a number of things. But again, right? Well, when it comes to Hunter Biden after the fact, well, that's just it's just he wouldn't have even been charged if it wasn't for Hunter Biden's, or if he wasn't Joe Biden's son. So it's just again either whataboutism, or they're using the exact same defenses that the Republicans were using about Trump when it comes to Hunter Biden. So it's like a weird mix of whataboutism / copying the defenses that they were attacking Trump about earlier. All that being said, I support the pardon. I think the pardon is good. It's a win for our Second Amendment rights. The Second Amendment does not, in my opinion, constitutionally restrict somebody who happened to have done drugs in the past from owning it or buying a firearm. As the founders intended, a bunch of hemp-growing, drinking founders of a country obviously did not intend for the Second Amendment to become nullified if you happen to do a few drugs. So overall, good thing with the pardon. I just think it's hilarious how hypocritical Democrats are, just generally.
Thanks so much, Scott.
Yeah, so I don't deny that Trump is engaged in nepotism and corruption. I think that is a silly thing to deny. He's a politician, and like all politicians, they're liars, as Biden proved by stating over and over again that he wouldn't pardon his son. Obviously, I think this is a very, very bad pardon. It would be different if he had pardoned him specifically for the gun violation, where he lied on a federal form about whether or not he uses or plans to use firearms. Obviously, the case is a little bit different because 1 week after purchasing the firearm, he left it in the floorboard of a car that his husband's. Sorry. Hold on, pause. Sometimes when you have so much incest and pedophilia from a guy, you have to engage carefully with the language because it gets confusing, right? So his dead brother's wife, who he was fucking, and the same car with the 14-year-old niece who he was fucking, he left a car with he left the firearm a week after purchasing it in the vehicle along with drug paraphernalia, and according to testimony from the I guess the widow of his brother, whom he was fucking and got onto crack cocaine and drugs and stuff, that there was also drug residue on the firearm. So she had to get rid of it by throwing it away in a trash can in a grocery store parking lot that was across the street from a school, right? So, I mean, it's not quite as like just he lied on a form, but that is what they charged him with. And I do think Biden should have pardoned him for that crime, but that's not what he did, right? He didn't pardon him for the gun crime. He gave him a blanket pardon for all crimes that he would have done or did do from 2014 up until now. Well, it's like, well, why did he pick the year 2014? Well, maybe he picked the year 2014 because that's when the Burisma scandal was a thing. Maybe that's because he founded RSP along with John Kerry's stepson, and then they put an individual from the board of RSP on MetaBio. And maybe it's because the CIA directly funded MetaBio, and they funded them and the DOD funded via Hunter Biden and the connections that he had, $18.4 million to build biolabs on the border of Russia in Ukraine. Maybe it's because in 2017 they used the reinsurer with that same with those same companies involved, and the CIA was a portion. Well, actually, it's IQ Intech or. Sorry, In-Q-Tel, right? In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's funding arm, was a part of that. Maybe it's because the same guy that's the founder of that company that is connected with Hunter Bio is also World Economic Forum Young Global Leader, has gotten money for these same things in a different project that he worked with Ghislaine Maxwell. So maybe it's because, being connected to the Clintons and Kerry and to a massive amount of corruption and DOD money, and Google paid $1 million when they were at the same exact time that they were in secret meetings about the biolabs. Maybe it's because he's not pardoning his son a 10-year blanket pardon. He's pardoning himself and the Biden crime family and the people that have been engaged in millions of dollars of corruption, working with the CCP and working with illegitimate organizations that were designed to inform the CIA in 2017 of pandemic responses, and the same people that worked and funded the Wuhan Institute of Virology are also involved in these individuals. Maybe that's why it was a 10-year blanket pardon instead of pardoning him for that gun crime. So yeah, I think the gun crime's a little ridiculous. It's a little bit more complicated than people like to make it. But let's be honest. Biden is a corrupt family that has done horrible things, treasonous things, and all of them belong under a prison.
Not in the prison, under it though.
Yeah. Well, if they're in the prison, you know what most prisoners do to pedophiles. So I mean, like, maybe we can put him in the prison. He'll be dead within a week.
I haven't heard about this 14-year-old. But I missed.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Can we just name more conspiracies? It's pretty fun. Let's talk about flat Earth next.
Everything I said is fact.
Well, we can discuss it in the conversation.
Well, you said Ukraine funding Ukraine biolabs in Wuhan, so I don't know about that one, but we'll talk.
We can discuss.
Yeah, we can get into it. I can back up everything I said.
Our friend Corey, thank you.
I'll try to keep it brief. I mean, I do agree with Scott that, from my assessment, Trump is engaged in, no surprise, corruption, nepotism. I'm not the hugest fan of Biden. I do find it interesting. In terms, and I agree with the assessment. He seems to have lied, and he's no surprise, hypocritical, as Scott said, most politicians are. But what I'll say, I do find it funny that he seems multiple times. He explicitly said, I'm not going to pardon Hunter. I think it's pretty much on record that he wasn't going to do it. And then, it turns out he did. And then yet, strangely, or somewhat strangely to me, leading up to his 2020 election, he wouldn't commit to being a one term. When he was asked, are you committed to serving one term? He was always wishy-washy about that. He never wanted to leave the door open. When it's much easier, I think, to make that commitment as opposed to making the false commitment that you're going to pardon your son. To me, that's a little bit bizarre, but that's sort of an aside. But yes, I don't really have much to add other than Biden has, let's say, some issues. I think a little bit less corruption than Trump, but I don't know what else to say other than that. I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you. Next, our friend Gibbs.
I'm of two positions here on this, and they are somewhat opposed. I've had a hard time which position I was going to open with, but I think we're going to do the one that y'all expect me to take, and then I'll go on for my second one here. I actually understand Biden using his pardon power here and him pardoning his son. What father wouldn't want to save their son, especially someone whose family has actively been committing treason? As a father who has the power to save his child from potentially world-ending prosecution, I totally understand why he did it. On some level, I would be okay with that. Two things I find key to governments in day-to-day life is in the real world is one of those is contracts, right? When the Texans joined the Union, it was ensured that the Rio Grande would be our border. That's by breaking this contract with us. They've committed treason. That's something against him being allowed to do this. It's especially since there's evidence of Hunter Biden committing treasonous things in Ukraine, as Fabian went into detail on. I won't recover this. The whole Biden crime family should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for their treasonous behavior to the fullest extent, and I mean that because they are absolutely committing treason. Now on to over the nepotism thing. Nepotism is fucking based. There's absolutely nothing more profoundly American than nepotism. What's the point of the American dream? It's to come here, build a life, build a future, and for many people that means legacy. Thus, ensuring your family is part of that future is something that should be encouraged. Why shouldn't people be allowed to promote their own people into things? Loyalty should be rewarded. If you don't encourage loyalty, you end up getting the evil parallel Earth from Star Trek, where everyone just stabs each other in the back all the way to the top. Success should also be rewarded. If I'm successful enough in my field, I should be allowed to promote people to whatever position I can. The crux of this topic is they're mad because Biden has exposed that their hypocrisy, right? Because the only reason they're really mad is that Trump is rewarding political outsiders. He thinks they'll be good for the job. And so now they can't sit here and, take their moral high ground because Biden showed how corrupt all the Dems really are, which is anybody on the left, because they actually are all just hypocrites. And they just wanted to use this nepotism thing as an attack on Trump, and now they can't. And that's the real reason that the left is crying boo-hoo about this.
I just want to say thank you so much for the Star Trek reference. I love the Mirror Universe. Some of the best episodes, especially the DS9 Mirror Universe. You remember those ones? Those are really, really good. Yeah. But anyway, to our friend Katja.
Anyways, yeah, I can agree with that as somebody who is also partial with the Star Trek Mirror Universe, especially the parts of the DS9 ones where, Worf has Garrick on a leash. That was pretty hot. No, haha. But what I am gonna say about that is pretty funny how we're saying the good guys in Trek are more comparable to a Trump cabinet. That's very funny to me. Other than that, basically the way I feel about it is I understand why he said he wasn't going to do it before, which I do believe that he was probably, I don't think he was going to lie all along. I think by the end of it, he went back on his promise 100%, but I think that had more to do with the Trump putting Kash Patel as the nominee for FBI director, as well as just that in combination with him thinking about probably the tragedy that's happened in his family throughout the years and the other kids that he's lost, and that how many years does he really have left to live? So I feel like in the 11th hour, he's like, no, I'm going to pardon my only child who's still with me. So, which I feel like was an emotional decision of his, and it was him going back on a previous promise, but I think that had a lot to do kind of with it, especially given those two results, Trump winning and then the Kash Patel thing. Either way, I don't really have too much of a problem with it. I do like kind of on principle, but will I have a problem with it in, outside of a vacuum? No, because we have to have standards. And all the pardons that happened, I know we're going to do whataboutism, I don't even care. Because all the pardons that happened in the past administration did, like, with Trump going on with specifically, like, people like Manafort, like Roger Stone, people who were, involved in corrupt stuff in the entire, like, later involved in the January 6th stuff. Those people were pardoned. I mean, if we're going to do that, if that's what's, considered to be fine, then, why should Biden cuck himself? He should get a chance to do the same thing if that's the standards that we're living under. Because clearly when, they go low, we go high has not been working. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Let's go to our friend Ali.
Biden and Kamala have done so much to destroy the Democratic Party. Like, there are so many people who are like center left, who are Democrats, who are now just like left without a party, right? Like, it's so many non-voters. I don't think Democrats are going to win an election for a very long time. No shit, he pardoned his son, like, but you can't go ahead and destroy like any like form of hope or trust that you had in people by lying to them and saying, I'm not going to pardon him, I'm not going to pardon him, I'm not going to pardon him, and then pardon him for 10 years worth of crimes it's insane. So yeah, fuck whataboutisms. I don't really care. I'm not pro either side in this. Obviously he pardoned him. I'm not surprised. Should he have pardoned him as a president? Nah. As a dad, obviously, like, I'm not surprised that he did. But yeah, I mean, I think the real loss here is anyone who's supporting like the Democratic Party at this point looks insane and just looks it looks unprincipled at this point, unfortunately. And you guys gave the Republicans every argument they had, like they need. So
later on, we're going to talk about Whoopi Goldberg. We're going to talk about insane. We're going to talk about Whoopi Goldberg and what she said today. But anyway, grid one, please.
All right, great. Hey, man, I really appreciate being here again, by the way. I thought I went maybe a little too hard last time, and you weren't going to have me back. No. So I'm glad that that you had me back.
You didn't go hard enough.
Yeah, didn't go hard enough. All right, we're going to go harder. So I gotta say that Scott hit a lot of the very salient points. Number one, first of all, I don't think the diaper-wearing delusional wreck of a president that we have in the White House right now has any idea that he pardoned his son. I think that the people behind the president pardoned his son, and I think they did it for a very specific reason. The date of 2014, as Scott said, is absolutely critical because, and look, Hunter Biden was not in any danger. He didn't need the pardon. He wasn't going to be prosecuted for anything else. He wasn't going to jail. He was just going to live out his life. But what could happen is that with Kash Patel being appointed to the FBI and Trump's systematic destruction of the Democrat mechanisms in our national security and investigation services has absolutely scared the Democrats to death. They're running, and they're going to keep running. They have to. And so now Hunter Biden cannot be pressured to testify against anyone. He's pardoned for all of his sins from 2014 forward. There's no reason that there's nothing that the feds, that any prosecutor, that any judge, any jury can hold over him to testify against anybody. And that's the whole reason this pardon happened. If you can't see that, you're absolutely blind and insane, actually. And as far as Trump's choices to pardon or not pardon, well, first of all, look, Charles Kushner, I think his name's Charles. He was out of jail when he was pardoned. He'd served his time, which was only 2 years, I think. By the way, and it was he got put in jail for tax evasion. Like, seriously, like the whitest of white crimes. Now there was a little bit of a modifier on that because he did hire a hooker to seduce his brother-in-law to show his sister the video so that she wouldn't testify against him
a little bit more than that. Yeah.
In the tax evasion case. However,
witness tampering.
I mean, hey, I'm not Italian. I'm not Italian, but I'm not Italian, but I have seen The Godfather many times, and I'm gonna respect a good con, right? I gotta respect it, and I'm okay with it.
Damn, you have to be Italian to con people.
I'm not Italian, but I understand blackmail, okay? I don't agree with it. I'm not saying that it's a thing you need to do. It's not gonna get you ahead in life, obviously. But you gotta respect the guy's moxie for trying, right? You gotta do that. Now, and nepotism, the entire political industry runs on nepotism and favoritism. Why do you think there are $10,000 a plate dinners for city councilmen and $100,000 to go sit with the president? Do you think Hillary Clinton does those speeches in universities for fucking free? Come on, man. Come on. It's, hey, you pay me and I will vote your way, you sons of bitches. I don't agree with you. I'm going to vote your way because why? Because you paid me. Because you're my brother-in-law. Because you sucked my brother-in-law's dick. I don't care. Whatever it is, that's why I'm voting your way, right? This is politics. Nepotism, favoritism, that's what politics are. And to deny that is even more insane than denying that the machine, Democratic machine, pardoned Hunter Biden, and Biden has no idea. He probably still doesn't know that he pardoned Hunter Biden. And if he did, it's because they wrote it on a cue card and put it up on the teleprompter for him to read it. And I really do appreciate you guys allowing me to be here and say all these really cool things because let's go. Let's get into this. This is gonna be great. By the way, Fabian Liberty is absolutely correct. Don't forget that Trump, the first time let's remember that the reason why Trump's first impeachment happened because he had a phone call with the Zelensky, who, by the way, is a dictator installed in a military coup orchestrated by our government, Obama and Biden, who Biden was over there. His son was doing all the Burisma stuff. When the prosecutor got too close and Biden leaned on him, remember what happened about the phone call. One phone call started an impeachment with Trump. You guys can't even make this shit up. Honestly, Hollywood hasn't made anything this good in 20 years. And I'm going to see.
Oh, thank you so much. So two things. One, Trump is probably also wearing a diaper, let's be honest.
Yeah,
and that's okay. Because he's old.
Okay.
He's 87 years old. That's fine. I'm just saying, that's all.
It's okay then.
We have a bunch of geriatric individuals, and they're probably all wearing diapers. And two, we love this energy grid, right? Yeah, come out more of that. We love it. Come out swinging.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, there's just a couple of things that so the powers that be have potentially made a mistake, and it depends upon whether or not Kash Patel and Trump actually want to go hard in these investigations, whether or not they just want to move on and fix like economic issues. Because if they actually want to dig into this hard, one of the problems with pardoning someone is that they lose their Fifth Amendment rights.
Fifth Amendment.
So if he is pardoned for everything that he has done, well, then anything that he says is no longer self-incriminating because he's already gotten a blanket pardon. So actually what they can do is they can bring him before Congress and they can charge him both with perjury if he lies or contempt of court if he refuses to say anything.
They can subpoena him too in criminal investigations.
Yeah, they can subpoena him. So it really all does depend on whether or not Kash Patel and Trump, because I mean Trump was already considering a pardon of Biden, of Hunter Biden for this very reason, maybe, or maybe for the same reason that he never went after Hillary Clinton, is because he said he wanted the country to heal and he just didn't feel like it was actually going to fix that many problems to go after, because he was more worried about the economy and regular Americans' prosperity. Unlike, the Biden administration that utilizes the DOJ as an arm of their ability to attack their political enemies, just like, Obama did with the IRS, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I just wanted to correct that portion. But so that we kind of have to just try a wait and see approach. But obviously Hunter Biden has done horrible things for his father, for his brother Jim, right? Like, Katya, no offense, but calling me a conspiracy theorist and you don't even know that there's another son of Biden that's alive that's involved in all this kind of shows that you just have no idea what the fuck you're talking about in this domain. So like you should just sit out and learn from the people that have done the research on this, because this shit is as corrupt and as dirty as politicians get. Biden has.
I'll admit that I misspoke on his number of children. Okay, like all right.
Can I want to ask a couple. So as a supporter of the pardon, just to be clear, the Fifth Amendment point you brought up is I think a good one. I think that's an important one. He can be now compelled to testify. He can be thoroughly investigated, and he can't claim because he's no longer, he can't be charged. He doesn't have to worry, or we don't have to worry about giving him any kind of protections under the Fifth Amendment. So that I think there's an advantage there. The other thing is, look, part of me also.
How can he still be I'm confused. I have no idea.
So in the United States, if you are if let's say you're subpoenaed or you're up on trial or whatever, you can plead the Fifth. You can say, I am not going to testify, because you have a right to not testify against yourself. You have a right against self-incrimination. But if you can't be incriminated because you've been pardoned, then you lose that right against self-incrimination.
Why?
So because you can't be incriminated against, because you're immune
yourself.
Now.
You've already been pardoned.
Okay.
You've already been pardoned, right?
So
you're a new thing.
You're not immune to contempt of court. And
right, but this is a blanket.
Those are new crimes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right,
but what would they bring you on trial for?
It's a blanket one that ended yesterday.
You can
subpoena you as a witness.
As a witness, you can subpoena people as witnesses. So, like, for example, you bring on Hunter Biden to testify, or bring him some kind of deposition to testify as to his knowledge of Burisma. Under normal circumstances, he could say, I plead the Fifth, I plead the Fifth, I plead the Fifth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to every question. But he can't do that anymore, right? Now he has to answer
I don't
truthfully.
Recall that fact.
That's the concern. He could lie. That's the concern.
I don't seem to. I was in a drug-induced haze. I'm sorry, Senator. I don't remember anything that you're talking about. I apologize.
Sure.
I do not have any of.
But here's the problem with that. You're right. But there's a problem with that, though.
This kid's already walked out of a congressional hearing.
So even if he admits to everything, he's already pardoned, though, right? So what difference does it make if he starts admitting things or whatever?
Because the reality is,
they're saying that it can be used to testify against other people.
Yes, because that's what I think. At least I'm concerned. Frankly, I don't care if some horrible person, cokehead, which this guy was, frankly, he's one person. I'm more concerned about like the country, right? I'm more concerned about
like the precedent being
corruption. I'm more concerned about things that I have much more interest in. And so if we can use Hunter Biden as a tool now to like get at something, I think juicier parts of what we're concerned about, that's a good thing. The second thing is as to, why was the pardons, it wasn't just the gun thing. You're right. There was also like a tax evasion charges that were associated with that. But I mean, you know how I feel about taxes. Frankly, I'm not, part of me wants to say a big part of me wants to say, like, tell the Republicans that this is just desserts, right? When you charge somebody with with an unconstitutional crime, which is what this shit was, right? What the actual charges were for under the gun thing, something that I very strongly believe is against the Second Amendment and against the Constitution. And you're so fucking like chomping at the bit to get him with something to use for the election. And now all of a sudden you gave Biden a very plausible and reasonable excuse for pardoning Hunter Biden. That's on you. Like, this is your just desserts. It is more important to signal to the country that this is unacceptable than it is almost anything else.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
So the gun thing was just part of it. That was the easiest thing. Remember that we had the laptop with all of its contents, which is, if you've ever looked into it, is crazy. And horribly damaging, and literally would have put him away for a very long time. And when we had that, we didn't prosecute him for that. Why do you think that is? The gun crime was just the easiest thing that he could just make him go away. Like, just hold on. I'm actually
maybe
agree with
that shouldn't
be the goal. that shouldn't be the goal. We shouldn't just be like, oh, there's these other things that we actually think are bad, but like it's too hard to get them on that, so we're going to go after.
If you're pro 2A, this is actually a really bad case for 2A, right? Like the slippery slope with the legal thing for the 2A. Like now they're gonna start charging me hypothetically. Like say I bought a 6-pack and I own guns. Like are they gonna be able to get me later because I was like allegedly like potentially drunk for a crime? Yeah, I hate the charge of Hunter Biden. I agree with you. They tried to do it to get whatever, but I think the slippery slope thing for it is much more.
Those laws already exist.
However,
those laws already exist.
Hold on. Yeah,
like having drugs with a gun is. I mean, like I agree with you that that's wrong, but they're already in most states.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
At the same time, but they got it when he had.
It wasn't something no one else has been charged.
He had crack in a video.
Hold on. So, like, here's my point here. I'm making. I am against this case as like a staunch 2A guy. I didn't like the case. However, there's the exception is that y'all mentioned this with the date, and I didn't really go in it because I thought y'all. I didn't know he's going to go into it, but you did go into it. Is that it's treason? There's treasonous behavior, which the highest penalty for that is death. And I understand as a father why Biden would want to go do this, but we potentially have treasonous. I already think we have treasonous behavior for Biden enough on President Biden on the border. So I mean, I can only imagine what his corrupt ass sons are doing, and while they're sucking hookers' dicks and snorting lines, we're doing with the Ukrainian government. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Made one more prediction that came true, and I made a prediction on this channel. I said that the left was getting in bed with Nazis. I didn't know it was going to come true in such a literal way with the Destiny blowing people that are literal Nazis.
Was he involved with Hunter Biden too? Did he get part?
Unrelated, but I just want to point out another prediction of mine came true. The left getting in bed with Nazis, and it literally happened. And
okay, Gibbs. I want to. So I understand what people are saying about Burisma, and I think that's a reasonable concern. Here's the problem: like, there's evidence, and this is like easily accessible through his Wikipedia. There's evidence that around the same time is also when he started like getting in trouble for drugs, or like evidence of his drug use started really like becoming in play. So again, more plausible deniability or an actual reason why Biden chose that date. This is like the time, yes, Burisma, but also he's getting involved in the drugs and having all these drug charges. And that's what Joe Biden wants to pardon him for. And again, when it comes to like the gun thing, we have to recognize here how ridiculous the ATF's requirements are when it comes to purchasing a gun. It's not just if you have drugs on you. It's if you have used any drugs, including THC, within the past 12 months. I think this is horribly and disgustingly unconstitutional. And there is currently a legal fight about it. The Fifth Circuit.
Does that include caffeine?
Well, no, it doesn't. The Fifth Circuit, which is the best circuit of the United States, has made a ruling that just because you have used drugs in the past does not preclude your rights under the Second Amendment to own guns. And so there is a circuit split right now in the United States, and it could go to the Supreme Court. And the fact that there is a circuit split on this, the fact that the law is so abhorrently unconstitutional, and now we have this political ammo of, hey, if you're going to let Hunter Biden off, you should let all Americans off with this. I think that is far more useful, and he no longer can protect himself with the Fifth Amendment, right? We can now interrogate him. Like, all of that is so much more valuable to me than like, oh, but Hunter Biden's going to get away with it. It's one person in a country of 320 million people. Yeah, he's an asshole, but those other concerns are so much more important.
I don't think anybody cares about his gun crime. I think that's totally irrelevant. I think that.
Yeah, but those were the charges.
People can use that.
Yeah, that's not what the pardon is, right? Like, again, you yourself admitted, right, that the pardon plausible deniability here starts in 2014 because that's when his drug problems start. Except the presidential pardon powers are largely, I guess you could say, unexplored, right, in terms of their ability to hold up in court and how they are conducted. So he just as easily could have done a pardon that described or detailed drug-related things and talked about those situations.
I've looked into this. There's a reason he didn't do that.
Okay. But okay. But
they probably wanted to avoid having to drag his ass in there over and over again, like Benghazi Part 2.
Because here's why they did that. This is why they did a blanket. The reason why they did a blanket,
not over him, but obviously there's the Fifth Amendment situation.
Yeah. The reason why they did a blanket is because a very motivated prosecutor can worm their way around and find specific crimes where now there is a question about whether or not the pardon covers it. When you have a blanket pardon, like you don't have to worry about that anymore, right? And I think that that's the main concern here when it comes to pardoning Hunter Biden, because he's done so much shit, and God knows what else he's done.
Is treason,
a lot of it's documented on videotape.
It's treason.
It's possible. Here's the problem. It's possible. Here's the problem. First of all, if it was treason, if it was treason, okay, hold on. If it,
then why couldn't they move forward? Like, why didn't they?
Hey.
Well, I want to. Well, I think Kati's made somewhat of a good point here in that if it's treason, like if you're saying, oh, it would have been too hard to prove it, that's on you. Don't try to go to something else. Don't try to try to come up with some unconstitutional contrived bullshit. Go for the actual thing that we're concerned about instead of setting the standard of when we can't find you on something that's actually bad, we're going to destroy you with something unrelated.
That's being disingenuous.
It's not. And by the way, do you have evidence that there was a 14-year-old? I looked it up. I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
His niece was 14. You go
look
at the fucking
laptop.
He's got hundreds of fucking photos of his niece in bikinis in different situations. Now, the actual sex act, whether or not we can prove that the individual that is presumably her, that looks like her, that's giving him a foot job, we don't know whether or not we can't prove that is there. What we can prove is from his iCloud storage of his text messages that Jill Biden and Natalie Biden both refused to have Haley Biden. Sorry, I got them switched. Sorry. No, that's right. Haley Biden and Jill Biden both texted in multiple different exchanges that he needed to be put away from the children because he was sexting with the cousin, right, with his niece. So he was sexting with them. We have proof that they were talking about the sexting and why that needed to go away. Jill Biden was saying he needed to go get help, go get treatment for his drugs, and he wouldn't be allowed around Natalie again unless he was getting weekly drug tests to prove that he was sober, because that's what family does.
Why wasn't he charged with any of this?
The drugs.
Do you have materials
it's
to
not
prove?
Fucking Trump. It's because it's not Cash Patel. It's a bunch of swamp creatures that know that these people are deeply in bed with each other. They're all fucking working together. Like
that's
Nathan
awesome, but
Wolf,
do you have proof
wasn't
that
it Republicans that led the prosecution?
Sexting, and it wasn't just because he was on drugs.
Do
you have this material
that they say in the text
then
messages.
I'd like to see the text messages. Do you have them? Can I please see them? I'd like to see.
Yeah, you go to hold on. Let me give you the.
If you have a link, I couldn't find it either.
I mean, the scale of the treason is the problem. The scale, right? Like, if you sold us out to another country, that's why treason.
It's BidenLaptopMedia.com, right? And they've gone through and made sure that there's no child pornography by making sure that the breasts and vaginas and penises are all blurred in the photos.
I'm not going to argue that the child stuff is bad. Like, it's not.
Because there's a ton of stuff, but like that is the most
minor of his crimes. Okay, that's bad.
Sorry,
and
this is a map. Where is it?
Hold on, all right, y'all can look at that in a second. But hold on, this is bad. This is bad, right? And I'm not going to argue the child stuff isn't terrible, and maybe the worst thing in the world, really, at a personal level. The thing is the treason. You're not only selling out one child. You're literally fucking the entire country. Like, we're all getting screwed by the treason. And I object to the basically. I object to the gun crime thing because I think the implication is larger in that case, where I think it could be applied to all gun owners, and I'm more concerned about that than the treason. It is, right? But then we come back to the and then we come back to the treason thing. Now I know y'all are talking about the child thing, yes, and that's bad, but it's the scale, right? Like, this is what he's doing, and it's the reason why he picked the 2014, like y'all mentioned, is because now we have access. Maybe we don't have proof yet, but with Cash Patel coming in, they're going to shake up the FBI. I think they're definitely terrified. They go, hey, maybe there's some shit we're going to find, and he's preempting that. That's what this is bad. And that's what it looks like. It looks like preempting. Now, I get it from a father's standpoint, but they're committing literal treason. And when it's the scale screwing the entire nation, I kind of like, okay, the nepotism thing died usually 99%, like 9% of profile for all time. There's my line, treason. I don't want to get fucked because, hey, we sold out to the Ukrainians, or hey, we sold out to China or whatever.
Let's looking
at the evidence. Right.
So Ali wanted to jump in before, so let's give him space.
Yeah.
We'll go to Grid one, and then after that, Aiko, if he's ready, he can jump in. But go ahead.
You mean Cracky Magoo?
I was about to say, I just want to say what up to Aiko, compliment him on his haircut. So you can move forward.
Oh, move on. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great turn. All right.
I while I enjoy the deep emotional commitment to the gun crime that exists on the books, whether you feel it's constitutional or not, currently is irrelevant, because that's just one thing that they could have charged him for. It's the one thing that stuck. They had so much more that they didn't. There's a reason for that. That's what Scott's saying is, look, this is the totality of the circumstances is that they had all of these things. They had the Burisma. They had the biolabs. They had all of the payoffs. They had the tapes talking about 10% to the big guy. They have all of this. And the one thing that they choose to go after him for is buying a gun as a felon. That's the one thing. Lying on a 4473.
Lying about drug usage. Yeah.
Yeah. Lying on a 4473. That's the one thing they choose to go after him for. So why? Well, Scott just said it. The swamp, there are many creatures, they're plentiful, and they protect each other. This is why it happened right now. Because when Trump announces Kash Patel is going to be head of the FBI, and he's shaking up every other security agency. As a matter of fact, one of the heads of I believe it was DOJ or CIA, I forget which it was. I'm sorry, they're a bunch of letters, number soup right now. But
yeah,
when the guy was fired and asked Trump to reappoint him to let him have his job back, Trump said, "No, you're part of the swamp. You don't exist here anymore." And this is something that is going to happen more and more, and it's going to get far worse, my honest opinion. But Scott honestly is right. They had so much, but they only chose the smallest thing, the least important thing to go after Hunter Biden on. And you guys are like focused on that one thing and not seeing all of the rest, all of the reason why this pardon happened, why it had to happen.
It's important to know.
I do agree that he, he can go in and he can no longer take the fifth, but he can absolutely have selective memory, and there's really nothing they can do about it, right? So while
I just want to say it's important to note that it can be difficult to prove the entire God damn it, I have to write all this shit. Metabiota situation in Ukraine and Burisma. That is going to be difficult to prove. What is not difficult to prove, that anyone can go look at the reports from Senator Grassley and Johnson on the Chinese situation and can look at the fact that James Giller, along with Bob Alinsky, connected Hunter Biden and his connections with CEFC. And that, the guy that was known as the CEO, the Belt and Road billionaire is what he's commonly called in China. He's someone that was he was on the chairman of the Deputy Secretary General of the China Association for International Friendly Contacts. Now, we have text messages that show that Bob Alinsky was told by Giller that these were Chinese intelligence and that they weren't concerned with Hunter Biden not being at a specific meeting because they knew that. We have bribes from him where he was given an $80,000 diamond. We have the transactions for the two separate $3 million wire transfers that were put through from these Chinese companies that were intelligence assets through a separate company and then given to Hunter Biden's PR firm. So that's $6 million. We know we have communications showing that they agreed to be paid $10 million per year. We have communications where they're concerned that Jim Biden was added in as part of the deal, but they recognize that Hunter Biden was potentially a potential problem because of his drug usage and his affinity for escorts and things like that, and that this showed it that it was more of a family company. And the big guy, 10% to the big guy, right? We have those communications. It doesn't name Joe Biden specifically, but it is Bob Alinsky who came forward with many of these things and corroborated before it was public knowledge many of the things that were in the laptop and that corroborate the story that the evidence shows with the text message exchanges. It is an open and shut case if you actually genuinely want to go after him on these things. Obviously not now that he's been pardoned, but They had every means to do so, but the fucking swamp didn't care. Under the fucking creatures of the state that they have had every available evidence that they need, from witness testimony, physical evidence that the FBI had already corroborated was his laptop and was his iCloud. They had multiple exchanges and emails, etc., that absolutely show that Chinese intelligence had given Hunter Biden $6 million to split between himself, Jim, and Joe Biden, and it's corroborated in multiple different ways. So this idea that like, oh, well, they just actually went out, the gun crime thing is a fucking, it is a distraction. It is a distraction to allow fucking pardon. Right. It's a distraction to feed to the media so the media can talk about how Republicans are whatever and whatever, and then these same fucking Democrats and Republicans can go sit together and get dinner together and laugh about how they're fucking you over every goddamn day. It's bullshit.
Just to be clear, let me just ask. So is the allegation here that the Republican Trump-appointed special prosecutor that led the case, that part of the swamp?
Dude, near all of these fucking politicians.
I thought Trump drained the swamp. Didn't he run on that?
What about Trump?
No, he didn't fucking drain the swamp.
Yes,
I started off by saying that he's nepotistic and corrupt.
Okay, this is the problem I'm running into.
Anyone good?
Hunter.
No,
this
not really.
This
I
is
know
the
it's
problem.
hard to imagine, but some of us actually hate all the fucking politicians.
Okay.
That lie and commit treason.
All right, sure. The problem I'm running into is we have a Republican special prosecutor, right, who led the prosecution of Hunter Biden. If there was sufficient evidence to bring these other things, they should have brought it. The fact that instead they focused on the thing that Hunter Biden was actually convicted of, which is the gun shit. It's not a distraction. It's the shit that he was actually convicted of. That's on them, right? That's on them. If it's a distraction, why prosecute it? A Republican Trump-appointed prosecutor did it. The reason why is they were looking for a win before the election and they got greedy. That's what it was.
Yes,
okay.
I agree with all of that.
Okay,
that
then it matters.
Mean that the Biden family isn't corrupt as fuck. And that doesn't mean that this fucking pardon isn't designed to protect all of these fucking swamp creatures.
Right.
Like it's not designed to protect people like fucking Andrew Weber, Assistant Secretary of Defense that went to go work for these people, or Nathan Wolf, or Ghislaine Maxwell, or the Clintons, or all of these other people involved.
Hold on. So okay, all right. So we'll let Grid in, and then I want to get Aiko to get him to make a statement. Then we'll go to Gibbs. Yeah.
Blacktoid, what you're kind of forgetting there is every time that they tried to introduce the laptop and all of the information that Scott just gave you, it was labeled Russian disinformation
for one day.
Even when they released the tape that said, "I'm standing here
not
with
during
my
the trial.
father. I need an answer today." Even when they released that, it was still labeled as disinformation.
Not during the trial. Wait, I agree with you. I agree with you that the media...
They forgot the laptop existed. They never even entered it in as evidence in the trial.
The FBI had the laptop at the time of the prosecution. So why didn't they bring that in?
Because they're fucking swamp creatures protecting each other.
The Republican Trump appointed... you're not giving me a lot to work with here.
No, I am. When the Department of Defense is fucking paying Hunter Biden, and when the CIA's investment firm is fucking paying him, maybe the other intelligence agency we haven't mentioned isn't fucking keen to go after the people that are corrupt and involved in the other intelligence agencies. Is it that fucking difficult to realize that these people are corrupt?
Or it's just different groups within the same.
Listen. I'm drain the swamp. He didn't last time. He will this time. I swear.
I'm serious, but if congressional Republicans,
it's completely irrelevant to my argument.
If congressional
Trump, I'm not a fucking Trump.
I'm not bringing up Trump. I'm saying if congressional Republicans were the ones that were pushing this prosecution, if they were the ones pushing this prosecution, and they were the ones that were investigating this prosecution, and then you had a Trump-appointed Republican judge from Delaware, he was the one who was a special prosecutor and led the prosecution. When they had all this evidence, and the only things they could bring were the gun crime and the tax shit. There's multiple possibilities, but none of them are good for I think the anti-pardon position, right? Because
the laptop was actual evidence until halfway through Biden's administration. Why is the timeline so messed up for you guys?
The FBI during the prosecution, the FBI had the laptop. The special prosecutor, the special prosecutor. Listen. If you're saying, well, the Trump appointed Republican prosecutor was part of the swamp, so that's why he didn't bring the actual charges. Then I mean, I can't challenge this. We're just fucked then at that point.
Stop. You're just circling, and I'm tired of it. There's no prosecutor on the planet that's going to use evidence that's not corroborated and can be verified. Not period. End of list. You should know.
What do you mean by that? Corroborated? Like a laptop?
If the FBI says this is not real, this is Russian disinformation, this is fake, this is not good evidence, no prosecutor is going to enter it into evidence.
They weren't saying that at the time of the actual prosecution.
Before that,
hold on. This is an empirical disagreement we have. I understand that initially, when the laptop story first came out, there was a bunch of idiots calling it Russian disinformation. No doubt. The disagreement we have is during the prosecution. During the prosecution, the laptop was verified. It was not considered, at least by the government, to be Russian disinformation, and especially not by the prosecutor who was leading the prosecution.
It wasn't until halfway through Biden's administration that the laptop was admitted to being real.
By who?
It was not during the Trump. It was not during the trial during the Trump administration.
By the prosecutor who's leading the case?
Yeah.
Or the everything? Okay. No, I disagree with this. The prosecutor who led. I do because the prosecutor who led the prosecution. You're telling me he was calling the laptop Russian misinformation.
Right up until about halfway through the. I'm sorry?
Nothing. Go ahead. You're doing fine. You're good.
Right up until about halfway through Biden's administration, they absolutely denied that it was even Hunter's laptop for a long time. They couldn't verify it. And even after they verified it, 2022. They said, maybe it's not. I'm sorry?
It was 2022. It was 2022 when they started admitting that it was real. Despite the fact that they had already had it and already knew that it was.
Timeline is what's your problem.
Lying about it.
Just to be clear, what
the prosecution was in late 2022 and 2023.
What Lactoid is asking is whether or not David Weiss denied that the laptop.
Yes,
and the answer that Grid is telling us has said immediately in response to that is yes, that prosecutor did that. So that should be now I don't know if he did or didn't. But that should be an easily findable thing.
He absolutely didn't use it because there's no prosecutor on the planet that's going to go into court with a piece of tainted evidence. Period. Not going to happen.
Really?
So what? Okay, hey, why don't we let
not knowingly they won't.
Let's let friend Eichel get in, and then Gibbs.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something that was said about the Fifth Amendment a couple of times before I was able to get in. The Fifth Amendment, that actually matters a lot more than a lot of people seem to be assuming, because anything he does after the pardon is not pardoned, right? So if he lies and he doesn't have Fifth Amendment protection and he's trying to cover things up, he's right back in trouble again. Like we found this out with several of Trump's pardon appointees who wound up later on going into jail because they weren't cooperating with Congress, because these are things that happen after their pardons. And yeah, if he's called and he doesn't go, he can be held responsible for that, just like Steve Bannon was. So he's certainly this benefits him a lot because it gets him out of a lot of trouble that he might be in a lot of these other cases. But the idea that the Fifth Amendment thing can just be dismissed, no, like he's not out of the woods on that. That's all I want to
say. Thank you. And then we'll go to Gibbs. But FYI, I have been looking at that site that our friend Scott directed us at. And
it'll fuck up your stomach, won't it?
For the laptop, his niece seems to be like the most. There's 7,000 photos on the laptop. The niece comes up in like number one, right? If you would map that out, she'd be number one.
And there's a lot of photos of her with her friends and in bikinis and her selfies, and he saved hundreds and hundreds of photos of his 14-year-old niece.
A lot.
Yeah, and then there are text messages where she's having sleepovers with him, with like one of her friends or something. Of all of the things that I'm concerned about, the fact that he is a fucking pedophile that fucked his niece and fucked his brother's wife, and and went to China and got some underage escorts is like so far down on the list of like things I'm concerned about, because that's just shit that he did. It disgusts me as a father, but that is just things that he did. I am worried about his connection with funding and moving money around by, Belt and Road Initiative CCP agents so that they can have influence with the Biden family. I'm worried about biolabs that were built, under defense contractor Black and Vetch, and that, they got DOD funding and Google funding, and, and that Nathan Wolf was also involved with Wuhan Institute of Virology as a co-founder of EcoHealth, that he was involved with Ghislaine Maxwell as a founder.
That's great, and
like,
all
that's
the rest
shit
of
I'm worried
them.
about.
But one thing that I think that's a perfect example, right, of the problem that me and Lactoid were talking about when we were talking about a lack of evidence. Because the stuff you said about the 14-year-old while gross, well, it really points towards absolutely him being a creep. That's not really something that a lot of, especially in such a high profile situation, they would bring charges on, because they might feel that there's insufficient evidence, which is literally what Lactoid and I were saying.
Yeah. So and to be clear,
I'm just curious. Were you on Twitter? Were you on Twitter during the Me Too movement?
I do want to give.
Sorry,
we can wait on that.
I was talking about.
We can wait on that.
I have a timeline, so I got to respond at some point.
We can wait to wait on that, right? So when it really gives, but just to be clear, I'm not willing to call him the pedophile yet. It's odd. It's an oddity. But I haven't read the text messages yet either, right? So I'm just like looking at the photos.
I feel you.
So I'm gonna hold off, but like there's just a lot of photos. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's go to Gibbs.
Before I even go into what I want to say, I want to give you all a breaking news update from Trump's meeting with Trudeau. I'm excited to tell y'all it's one of the most base things I've ever heard from a world leader in a long time. This happened about 30 minutes ago. All the major oars are reporting this, that allegedly Trump told Trudeau that if Canada doesn't like or can't handle the tariffs, then Canada should just become the 51st state. Get wrecked, you Canadian cucks. How you like the way that dick tastes? Like, so that's how I want to start before we go on.
USA.
I would say
Canadians would be voting in America.
Anyways, I recommend purchasing an electric car before he does.
I gotta say that's fucking base.
Good luck with your gas prices.
Yeah,
Lactoid is going to be called back to his Toronto home base, right? Like an emergency on our hands.
Base, right? I thought I would share that with y'all, but that I thought I was a big fan of it. All right, so anyway, clean the swamp. Y'all brought me clean this up. Now. Yeah, it is a big thing, right? It's a major reason like MAGA conservatives and independents wanted Trump in. They want political outsiders or people that aren't loyal to what many people see as the status quo or the uniparty. People can argue that Trump, his first term didn't clean out the swamp in his first but I would argue he did, right? To some extent, right? He got people in power. He got judges.
John Bolton for almost 3 years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure,
like, he didn't know what he was doing.
Hold on. Well, I'm going to object to that. I think maybe he did know what he did. He knew that he had to use people within the system at first, right? And he didn't have the political power. He had to use levers. I think he's more intelligent than a lot of people want to give him credit for. I think he knew how the system works. You got to play the game. So he started the process, right? Now he's built the movement. He's got more of the power within the coalition. He has people like in the political system. He's not as much of a quote unquote outsider. Now he has people like working within. He got rid of some of these power. People got rid of, lost their jobs. They lost power. And those groups haven't gained it back, right? So I think it takes time, and I think that, when the Dems have had the presidency and been the de facto leader of all these organizations for 16 of the last 20 years, I think there's some aspect to where y'all are right, where it's like, we did try to get him for the gun crime because that's maybe the only thing we could have got him for, due to like whether there's different departments, the FBI working against them, whether it's the prosecutor not having all that stuff, and I oppose the gun, like being the gun charge, because I wish they would have found something else to go after him because there's so much. But because I think it's bad for 2A. However, I understand the logic. We got to get this guy as a treasonous son of a bitch. And I think there's a lot of evidence to support that. But I also want to say that, I'm okay with nepotism because in most cases, because this is like him literally doing what he promised his constituency. He's bringing in people that don't have the traditional experience from within the political system, but like people that are going to shake it up and he thinks will do a good job and we're going to get rid of this and maybe see what's really under the layers, this nasty little festering onion that has been built in there in the FBI and all these other little organizations. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's exciting.
Can I go quickly through just correct some of the timeline claims that were before?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what's critically important. So the the actual laptop was acknowledged or was seized from by the FBI pretty early on. We're talking about I'm pretty sure 2020, and it was 2019, but it was acknowledged basically internally within the FBI as being real in 2020. There was some media hoopla about it. The official analysis was released in 2022 that verified that a lot of it was 100% accurate and not actually Russian misinformation. And so we're already in 2022. And then when did the trial of Hunter Biden happen? It happened in 2024. It happened this year. Mm-hmm. And in fact, David Weiss, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Weiss, on January 16th, prior to the trial, made filings in which he identified the laptop connected to Hunter Biden, stating the defendant's Apple MacBook Pro, which he had left at a computer store, meaning that the special prosecutor identified the laptop as Hunter Biden's laptop. There was plenty of evidence to link the laptop with Hunter Biden, and yet still, later that year, after the special prosecutor acknowledged it, they pursued gun charges that were, again, unrelated to all these terrible things that we're talking about. Again, like I said before, if they jumped the gun, shame on them. But what I think what probably was the case, frankly, and this is just like a hunch, my guess is they really only felt comfortable bringing the gun charges because that's probably where most of the evidence was. And I'm not comfortable with those charges being brought.
That's not true. No, that it wasn't that that there wasn't enough evidence on the laptop. It's that the defense, was arguing based off of previous statements that even though the laptop is real, we don't know if the Russians affected this, and we don't know if some of the that all of the information is real. And so they put in that it had somehow been tampered with in different means, and that doesn't prove that it's that everything in there is real. So David Weiss.
So first of all, that was my exact timeline, and then David middle 2022.
David Weiss.
Yeah, but the trial was in 2024.
Right, I understand that.
David Weiss said, right, that what the only thing that they were going to use from the laptop were things that they could then corroborate with witnesses. That's how they got the laptop in. So basically, they were only able to use the laptop to bolster what witnesses said. But anything that wasn't bolstered, that was in the laptop, that was real, could potentially be Russian disinformation. And so the only way that they were able to argue anything is not does the laptop, it wasn't just the laptop, it had to also be corroborated by Bobulinski or other witnesses that they brought in. So the mass amounts of data and things that are on the laptop that aren't specifically corroborated, well, those could just be Russian disinformation. It has to be the things that are corroborated by witnesses.
The problem with this,
May 2024, that the prosecutor admitted on CNN or told CNN, yes, we believe everything's real. Again, they can't use it because they couldn't corroborate it, because just because they believe it's real, the defense made a very good argument that
he's right. They did use it.
Wait, hold on.
Use it
Stop. First of all, he had filings acknowledge it as being real in January, but you're saying May, or this is still before.
Filings saying that he was going to use it because they believed it to be legitimate. And the defense argued that it was not, that it had been affected by the Russians, that there was possibly contaminated information, that none of it could be admitted. So then they went back and the judge said, okay, you can only use what you can corroborate with actual witness statements.
Well, I think, hold on, I don't think that part's quite accurate. I think they could use it, but that the defense was arguing that if it wasn't backed up by evidence, by witness testimony, that it could be just misinformation, right? And so just by putting out there, which is just not true. Right, but I mean that's what happens in that happens in court all the time.
So hold on. So we have like a whole bunch of witnesses, and by the way, in 2022, I mean there's multiple organizations, media organizations, government organizations that have verified this information is real. You could bring all those in as expert witnesses to testify as to the veracity of the laptop. The laptop's getting in regardless. The special prosecutor is saying the laptop is real in January in filings, and then apparently publicly both before the prosecution, and the allegation, it was the prosecutor doesn't believe the laptop is real when it turns out he does. The FBI was saying this was fake when, at least in 2022. Sure, I don't have anything about the FBI saying that up until 2022. There were media agencies that were saying that up until 2022. But at 2022, 2 years before the prosecution, you had that entire narrative be obliterated by all these organizations coming out with verification of the laptop, which got into trial. Again,
Yeah, I don't think David Weiss did a
there
good
is enough
job.
here.
Like,
okay,
like,
sure,
yeah.
okay. So
You know what I mean? Like, that's not my
now
argument.
we're
My
here on
argument
this,
is-
which
He
is
went
that
with
he
what he
is
could win
incompetent.
No, we're
with.
not. Now we're here. That has been my argument from the very beginning, right?
Yeah,
that
he
I
went with what
agree
he
with
could
you that the
win
gun
with.
charge is bullshit, and that the swamp didn't fucking go after him like they should have, and that you have all of these spurious connections that weren't properly investigated in the Ukraine situation, but that were properly investigated in the China in terms of the CEFC, and that the evidence is there, and that anyone can look and see that the evidence is there, that he received bribes, that he received a deal for $10 million, that he lied to New Yorker, for example, saying that he was meeting with this Chairman Ye, or Chairman Yi, I don't know how to say his name properly, it's just Y-E, that he was meeting with him for like the charity organization that he's working with, right? So he's lying about that because he's actually doing business deals to funnel money to his family, and you have witness testimony of that as well. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you that David Weiss did a bad job. What I'm saying is that the fucking that we don't have justice. That's what I'm saying. And now there is a blanket pardon on someone, and I believe that it is in part protection for all of this shit that we know is it.
I understand the argument. I understand the argument that you're presenting is like it's not the gun charges. That's just a smokescreen. It's really all this other shit that you're concerned about. The concern that I have is, look, I have this concept of innocent until proven guilty. I have this concept of what you charge people with and what you convict people of matters.
So do I.
Especially if we're talking about such a large public. Yes, so I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying for me these values are very strong. And the idea of, well, look, here's somebody who you guys couldn't, like, the Republicans couldn't get him on the shit that you guys are saying is like the actual problem. They could only get him on shit that I think, frankly, is unconstitutional to even charge him with, and then they convicted him of that. And then now we have this person here who the only evidence, the only solid evidence, the only solid finding of guilt, right? But this is why the pardon is justified, right? Because what is the signaling to the American people from this? These charges were bullshit. These charges are bullshit. And if you had non-bullshit charges, you should have brought them, or you should have been better at bringing them.
And he should have pardoned him for that, not gave him a blanket pardon that starts right when he does all of his corrupt shit in Ukraine.
Pause. Thank you. Great. So, because we kind of got like lost there. The lag twitch started to bring us back a little bit, but like there was a lot of time that the laptop, which everyone else can't really engage with. So just wanted to like recenter all of this. All right. Well, why don't we start with this? Like what did I think about the pardon? I think that it shows deep Biden hypocrisy, just unbelievable Biden hypocrisy, and it shows liberal hypocrisy. Liberals who talked about the rule of law, who talked about how Republicans are so bad because of all the things they do to undermine that rule of law.
How dare you say the DOJ is corrupt, but all of a sudden the DOJ is corrupt?
Yeah, we just clipped that.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, it's disgusting. I think that it's indicative of lots of things. Look, so I sent these guys, on the screen here. I sent them an NBC News article, and the NBC News article said that, from as per sources close to the White House, that they were talking about this pardon in June, right? In June, they were discussing this option, and allegedly from these sources, they said, well, we're going to keep this part in our back pocket, but we will then go on a campaign where we'll lie to the American public and say, absolutely not. Of course we wouldn't do that. No, of course not, right? Because at the time, he was still running. He was still running for president, right? To be the president. And he knew pardoning his son would be politically explosive. And then Harris was running, and he knew pardoning his son would be politically explosive, right? And then as soon as the election was done, it was like, well, whatever, fuck it, right? And so he did it. The same thing, this is indicative of lots of behavior. That's the same thing that happened with the Israel-Gaza situation, right? To see if the peace deal, if some sort of peace deal would happen. So just before the end of the campaign, Blinken, our Secretary of State, and our Austin, our Secretary of Defense, sent a letter to Israel saying that hey, you have not been fulfilling these certain level of humanitarian goals, right? Your obligations to this population that you're fucking bombing. And if you don't fulfill these obligations, we're going to cut off weapons, right? Now, idiot liberals fell for this. Oh wow, look at the Biden actually taking this seriously, right? Biden, as we've said, our president, right? He's gonna wrap this all up. Well, an intelligent person could have easily seen that was a fucking lie. That he was just stalling towards after the election. He was giving political cover to Harris until after the election. And as soon as it was done, and the Israelis made no changes, they said, yeah, whatever. Then we'll continue providing those weapons. It was a lie, right? This is the thing that we've seen again with the Biden White House. They lied about Biden's mental competency. All of these lies are going out to the American public, right? And they're laid bare. Whoopi Goldberg, I had mentioned her previously on The View, right?
Yeah,
they were discussing. You saw that? Yeah, they were discussing this, and someone challenged Whoopi Goldberg about Biden's truthfulness, and she said, "Well, you can't call this a lie. You can't call the fact that he said for months." And through directly and through his intermediaries, that there will be no pardon, and then he ended up pardoning them right that day. Well, you can call that a lie. Well, see, this is different. We've never seen anything like this before, right? The prosecution of the president's child. So could you really call that a lie? It's amazing. I nominate Whoopi Goldberg to the Democratic Department of Truth, right? Well, why would I?
Yeah,
I said over and over again that I wasn't going to do it, but then I did it, right? And now you're telling me this is a lie? This is some sort of contradiction?
Real quick,
of course not.
It's been insane. It's been insane.
I can't be certain.
Just real quick, please.
Lie or changing people's minds.
It's a lie.
I just
He
want to
told
say
people
this,
he wasn't going to do
He said he wasn't going to do something, and then he did it.
And then did that exact.
Oh, it was
Right,
of course a
if you say
lie.
you're not
Real
going to
quick,
do something,
real quick.
well, yeah, by definition. But what I'm saying is there's a difference between I'm sitting there at the beginning. Yeah, I'm going to say I'm not, but I know I will along the line.
No shit, he was going to pardon the
Or
NBC.
I'm not intending to.
It's a
but
lie.
then
You're
the
saying-
end change,
this
and I
is
go,
what I
was
just
saying. This is
kidding,
what I was
and then I
saying.
change
No,
my
you
mind.
can't.
Democrats
You can't say it's a lie by definition, but it's not really a
anything.
lie because maybe he changed his mind. But no, just very quickly.
Yeah.
I just want to say about them reporting that they had these internal conversations in June, even though it doesn't help me in this instance, and I'd love for that to be true. I just want to say never, ever, ever, ever trust any of the major news media networks unless they're willing to give you either physical evidence or two unnamed sources and one source that's willing to go named. That used to be the journalistic standard, and that stopped. And I don't ever accept anything as a source familiar with the president's thinking. The media do nothing but lie. They'll lie about the Bidens. They'll lie about Trump. They'll lie. They do it constantly, and they're never held to account. So if you say that the media reports something and it's not two unnamed sources and a named source or physical evidence, then to me it's just a claim from someone who has literally no credibility.
Okay, I'm glad you interjected what you feel there. I'm glad you got that out. Any which way,
it's important that we all recognize that the media lies constantly, and that they're not a source of information.
Sure,
of truth.
Anyway, so and then furthermore, right? And we'll go to Katja afterwards. Anyone else have their hand up? Okay, so we'll go to Katja.
Ali has that.
Ali.
I thought you were touching your head or something. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Got a big head.
I apologize. Katja, then Ali. So another thing, right, which disgusted me was his fucking the letter, right? Explaining why he was doing this. He talks about in the letter his son's sobriety, right? Despite poor baby Hunter Biden being sober for 5 years, these charges came anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Remember, we're talking about Joe drug war Biden. drug war Biden, who pushed the drug war all through the 90s, right? Who, like, when he came into the White House, right, he said to his staff, the White House staff, that you got to fill out this questionnaire about like your past, right? Included was a question on like what drugs you've taken part in, right? If you've done marijuana,
disqualified anyone that drugs.
There'd be no consequences for that. And people revealed that, oh yeah, we smoked some pot, right? And then he fired them, right? He's had his entire time, he's been happy to throw other people to mete out consequences for other people who engage in drugs. But now he talks, well, his son, his poor baby son, well, he's been sober for 5 years, and now consequences? Oh no. It would have been one thing, right, if Biden was pushing, and I believe this too, and I didn't state this yet, that the gun charges were bullshit, right? That question shouldn't be on that form, right? You guys know how anti-gun I am, but still, that question is bullshit, right? It's a trap law. That should be eliminated. If you was going to eliminate that and say, well, yeah, this is clearly a miscarriage of justice. Maybe I can't do anything for my son, but I'm going to be working to fix this issue. Then I'd say, okay, well then at least he's being consistent on this particular issue. But no, it's about his family avoiding consequences, right? Him using his power, but the entire time, the liberal preening about Donald Trump and how much of a danger he is to democracy, undermining our justice system. And he does the exact same thing. No, fuck Joe Biden, right? And to be clear, right, this whole incident with the pardon actually doesn't bother me on its own so much, because I don't really care all that much, right? Because I know that all these politicians, right, Trump and Biden and Clinton, I don't know about Obama, I don't know who he pardoned on that one, right? Like Clinton pardoned his fucking brother, Roger Clinton or something. Like
the only other president to ever pardon
worse pardons than that, for sure.
Yeah. So like this is like business as usual, right? No, but like what the only thing that the last thing that galls me, then I'll move on, is that this is the thing that upsets like a certain cohort of liberal, right? This is the thing that upsets you. He didn't keep his promise, really, right? While he's been prosecuting a genocide for a year, right? While he's been undermining, like you're talking about rule of law, international rule of law, international norms that he had been preening about the entire time, about how he's going to be the one to reset the international view of America, right? We're going to be the leader in following those international norms and the rule of law. But he violated all that, right? But this is the thing that liberals get upset about. Like, fuck you all. Fuck you all. Sorry. All right. I'm done. Let's go to cut.
Soapbox over. Feel you, brother.
Thank you.
Anyways. So, I mean, yep, I guess that is true as far as like that's what people have been upset about. But then, you get to a point where it's like, okay, we're upset about it and you call out Trump for what, 8 years? And, jack shit happens. Everybody on their side pretty much accepts it and agrees that, okay, this is stuff that we're willing to contend with and willing to be okay with. And then at that point, if you continue to hold your side to another fucking standard, then you're just screwing yourself. I mean, people like such as Gibbs in the past have said that Democrats need to play the game, specifically in relation to the situation with Mitch McConnell, and how he didn't allow, a Democrat to get appointed to, or a liberal to get appointed to the Supreme Court under Obama, and said that, oh, well, Republicans are good at playing the game, Democrats should play the game. He was absolutely right. Democrats should play the game. And you know what? If they decide to do stuff that previously they were like, oh no, Trump can't do this, because saying, oh no, Trump can't do this got nobody nowhere, then I mean, you know what? Go for it. What can I say at this point?
No, but the problem is,
let Ali go ahead and then.
So wait, but like Katya, like that's the failure of the Democratic Party as like once again for the left, because it's like you won't hold you should be holding Trump to the same standards that you want to hold Biden to. And if you're not holding your side to to any standards, just because the other side doesn't seem to have standards, well then yeah, your party lost And now all the people who don't vote Democrat now, it's on your hands.
8 years, and it got nobody
No.
nowhere.
You've been holding the other party accountable for 8 years.
Liberalism isn't working.
We have not been holding our party. We have not been holding our side accountable for 8 years. All we've been doing is bitching about Trump for the past 8 years, which is the only reason we lost. We did not focus on any of the demands that we needed. We didn't focus on any of our constituents, and so now our
absolutely yes. There was a lot of focus on it. Absolutely. No, I don't know if y'all are smoking more crack than Hunter Biden, but you know what? Absolutely.
We're the constituents telling you that we weren't reached. So, like, you can't tell me that we were reached just because you were reached.
Right, your constituency.
You just justified it. You just justified the corrupt nature of
people didn't come out.
No, I justified playing the game. Okay, I didn't justify it on a moral basis.
And what is playing the game?
Because we're bad at playing the game. We lost.
They lying. Apparently,
no, they weren't playing the game until now. I was saying you should have done this years ago.
Nah, this is where I disagree.
They should have thrown away any principles that they claim to believe on years ago.
You should have focused on strengthening the party within, actually forming bonds with your constituents and your people. But when none of the people that are voting for you feel like you reached out to them, like when none of the people went out and voted for you, when a lot of the Democrats are like just now non-voters. A lot
of it was over the situations with the economy that were completely unavoidable.
It was a lot. It was over everything. You guys keep you can't pick one thing. It was over everything. Biden being delusional.
What did I say? A lot.
It was over everything. It wasn't over one thing.
Okay,
we got to start.
We got to start. A lot of it was over one thing. I didn't say everything.
I know, and we have to stop this whataboutism for the other side. We have to focus on our side and the problems within us, and not focus on the other side. They have their own problems. Let them have.
Right, but it seems like a lot of what people are saying about the problems within us are we need to pander to people who literally, when they've been pandered to before, they don't vote either way. Like, what are you supposed to do? Pander to people who never
actually do something. Come with better policy.
Ali, so do you have another point?
No,
okay, so then
the pandering for democracy isn't working, so we'll just violate the law.
So
what is wrong with you?
I have said to play
the right did it for however long. I mean,
what difference does that make?
Hold on. I have said to play the game, right? And this is where I disagree with what you're saying, Katya, right? Like there's levels to the game. There are things you can like absolutely not do within the game. One of them is treason, right? And here's the issue I have. I've already think that Biden's committed treason. That's before I even found out anything about Biden's laptop and the Ukraine shit. But like, hey, now I definitely think they're committing treason all around. However, so when we talk about treason, we talk about playing the game. There's a difference between like outright like nepotism, like we're switching people out, and you've had control of the executive branch for 16 of the last 20 years. Like, this is Trump shaking it up, right? Trump shaking it up. They're trying to put their people in there. That's playing the game. We're playing the game y'all have established. Y'all built an institution that we see as corrupt. Many of the independents see as corrupt. MAGA people see as corrupt. Conservatives. There's a coalition now. Y'all have had this institution for many, many years. And then we're going to put people in here. We're going to do this. And then y'all turn around and have the audacity, after y'all done that, to sit here and go, look, Trump is playing our game now, and this is terrible. He's appointing people, trying to get his people in there. Evil.
That is
what y'all do. And then you're going, oh, it's evil. Trump's doing this. And then y'all's leader, the leader of y'all's party, the president of the United States, goes and says, you know what I'm going to do? My son has committed treason.
That's not the problem.
I know it, and I'm going to pre-pardon him so that he can't face firing squads. And I don't want be able to be able
Was
to
that ever on the table?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, because we committed treason.
That's appropriate. That's actually
the appropriate response for treason.
Right, I understand. Okay, fine. Well, I understand in y'all's heads that's what's appropriate. Was any prosecutor going to do this? Is anything on the table?
I mean, so maybe
he has to pardon him to get charges that are never going to come?
If Kash Patel comes in and reshakes up the FBI, and suddenly we get an investigation, and like they did to Trump, and they find overwhelming evidence suddenly that says, hey, he committed treason, are you going to bitch when they came out and say, hey, firing squad for this guy? You're not. Because right now argument is, hold on. Our argument's been for a while. These specific organizations, ATF, FBI, NSA, are corrupt as fuck. They're run by the Dems. And no, we're not. And we're going to sit here and we want to put new people in. And so why we're going to sit here and go, hey, you're going to just pardon this guy for committing treason? It's to prevent him from us finding these things once our people are in power. And y'all are just butthurt.
Okay, if the Democrats have been in control for 16 years, and I'd say more people believe Trump committed treason than believe Hunter Biden committed treason. Then why should I be so worried that if Hunter Biden was held to 2 seconds of Kash Patel, right, right. It was held to 2 seconds of Kash Patel. He was going to be in danger of getting charged with treason. Yet they couldn't do it for Trump for all these years, despite having control over everything and Republicans having control over nothing, and the corruption being on one side, like y'all say. That's ridiculous.
It is. It's mainly.
You're correct.
No,
because
it's correct.
because what did he actually do? As Lactoid opened up hours ago, he's a felon, right?
Long panel.
Explain how he's a fucking felon. Explain the crime.
Those aren't the charges that I was talking about. I'm not saying that he's committed treason or anything against the United States because of
name them.
You said he committed treason. I said that more people believe that than they believe that about Hunter Biden.
I don't think that's true.
And if I'm going to say,
that's why he got elected, makes sense.
If you're going to say that Biden committed treason over the border, yet you're not going to say that Trump committed treason over, the entire stuff with like trying to do fake electors and trying to basically steal the election.
Did he commit treason or not? Did he commit treason or not?
I mean, I'd say potentially committed seditious like sedition, but I don't know if I'd go as far as treason. I don't know about the exact.
That's the issue.
The answer is a lot of copium.
Stop appealing to the majority. Make an argument. If you believe that he is corrupt in some capacity, which I do, right? But I'm putting it on you, right?
You're running away from my original point.
No,
you're running away from my original point.
Your bullshit argument that is an appeal to majority.
Stop. Because my original point was an appeal to majority, because my original point was that more people believe, or it's more publicized, or more of the part of the government that's in control over everything or whatever thinks that he, is, on the hook for these things, then thinks Joe Biden's son is on hook for these things. Yet somehow you also believe that none of these charges would stick against Trump, but Hunter Biden's going to be held feet to the fire within 1 second of Kash Patel being, in there because he's going to shake it up. I'm confused as to what he's going to do. And then you change the subject to something else.
No, well, you just admitted that your whole argument was an appeal to majority, which is a fallacious argument. So you just admitted that you have no argument. But to explain the questions, I am open.
I need to start writing down your fallacious arguments, bro.
Well, yeah, you should probably learn logical fallacies if you're going to be doing debates.
I know quite a few.
You should probably understand those. It'd be very good for you to have some basic level of rhetoric. But again, I was the first person that spoke in the panel after we did our opening statements, and I said when I discussed the Fifth Amendment that was being taken away by pardoning, that it all depends on whether or not Kash Patel and Trump actually want to go after Hunter Biden. And I also referenced the fact that on multiple occasions, Donald Trump had said that he was considering but not sure whether or not he was going to pardon Hunter Biden. And I said part of that might be because of the same reason that he didn't go after Hillary Clinton, because he's more concerned about cleaning up our government and about our economic situation than necessarily going after our political enemies, which is very different from the left, who have been weaponizing the DOJ and weaponizing local courts all across, especially within New York, so that they can go after him for trumped up charges, pardon the pun. So, pardon the pun on pardon the pun. So again, yes, I said that you were making a fallacious argument by saying that there is this appeal to the majority. The appeal to the majority, right? Saying more people believe A than
more
B
people in the DOJ.
Doesn't okay, so now that's a completely different argument. That's a goalpost shift. That's another one you should write down as you learn the basics of Reddit.
I originally said it the DOJ the first time, and then I just said more people. And yes, I did. If you weren't listening, that's not on me.
And again, we are talking about the president and why the president and his staff went with the pardon. Okay, it is not based upon the popularity of the decision. He's a lame duck president with a month left. It is based upon whether or not he is. All right, you know what? I'm done cooking.
No, I was talking about the likelihood of something happening.
Let's go to Lactoid.
That's an entirely different argument than people believe A and people believe B.
We're running out of time.
Unless those people are the ones in charge of charging people, yeah.
I think I've made my argument clear as to why I think the pardon is justified, right? I think Hunter Biden is a victim of having his constitutional rights trampled. But that being said, he obviously was a terrible person, and Joe Biden lied when it came to pardoning him. I want to talk a little bit about whataboutism, because, again, this is sort of at least on Twitter, a few times during this debate panel as well, but primarily on Twitter, This is like the primary response, and a Prime is obviously immune to this, which is I think a very endearing quality.
Refreshing.
So very refreshing. Ali is also really good, despite again being way more left leaning than myself or Gibbs or Scott. I think very much proven to be immune to this, but. The reason I hate it so much is because it feels a little bit like the justification that gangs use for gang warfare, right? Sort of like, I'm going to pick off one of you, and then you're going to pick off one of me, and then before you know it, back, forth, and now you have a war, right? I mean, the logic, we're probably a week away from Destiny saying, well, the Saudis flew a plane into our building, so we should just be able to fly a plane into their building, right? Oh, they want to complain about that? They want to complain about their buildings coming down? They did it to us. Look at that. It's like motherfucker, like you need to be able to criticize your own side.
Bomb the Saudis?
You need to be able to take a step back and say, like, I'm not going to justify this. And if the Republicans do something, I spent the whole panel arguing that the Republicans were unjustified, and I do think it was political. They went after Hunter Biden. I do think it was bullshit, and I've been clear about this from the moment that the trial began. I've been saying this, like based on what I had known at the time. I thought it was ridiculous, and this is not me saying, well, like the Republicans are beyond fault, because they're not. There's plenty that Trump. His credit card fucking interest cap is price controls. He spent the whole fucking time ranting about Kamala Harris's price controls, and now he's trying to put in price controls. Ridiculous. And it's something that I was, again, critical of immediately. But how ridiculous would it be for someone to very accurately point out, hey, Trump's proposing price controls? And then my response be, well, what about Kamala Harris's price controls? Great, we can talk about that in a second, but let's address Trump's price controls first. We can address all the shit that is wrong with Trump, which, I mean, we have, and the internet disproportionately has for years now. But I want to talk about Hunter Biden and like the actual qualities here, right, having to do with Hunter Biden's specific case. I don't think it's justified to say, well, Biden's just playing the game that the Republicans set up. Joe Biden looked everybody in the eyes and lied. He directed his press secretary to lie. And Prime's right. I mean, this is the guy that there's videos of him pushing, like, you get caught with this amount of crack cocaine, 5 years minimum. We're gonna come after you. 5 years. There's nothing a judge can say about it. Almost like verbatim is what he said. And now, when his son gets in trouble, all of a sudden the rules are different.
He did love saying the N-word a lot during the Clarence Thomas confirmation.
It feels to me like it's just so unprincipled, and it's just like Hunter or Joe Biden definitely, whether he did something right or wrong, like the one wrong thing he did is he lied straight up, and it's fair to criticize him for that, and it's fair to criticize a level of hypocrisy with his own standards and his own statements prior. And I think the one thing that we should push Biden to do on this, I think this could go so far. We should say, Biden, let's make this not about you and your family. Let's twist this into a principled position. Pardon every single person in the United States charged with crimes similar to Hunter Biden. He will go down as a good president, all things considered, if he does that. I'd be incredible. Well, sure. We'll talk about that later. But when it comes to, I sincerely, I think it'd be a great thing for him to do, and I think now is the time to push him to do it. Now is the time to make him feel bad about the fact that he's holding other Americans to a different standard than his own son. And the solution to this is not to just crush Hunter Biden under unconstitutional charges. It's to liberate all Americans from this bullshit.
I agree.
Yeah, I can agree too.
Yeah. Okay. Then we've hit our time. Unfortunately, for Nico, we didn't get to participate much.
Cracky Magoo.
He came in with a fancy new haircut, though. I didn't get to acknowledge that previously, but
several fancy hairs were cut.
Several fancy hairs, indeed. So we'll end it here. We're going to give an outro to all these individuals, guys. If you've liked this content, please consider helping out the channel. We do need your help. Maj and BMAC gave the sub earlier, but I definitely could use more help. So consider subbing to the channel. I think it's gifting subs using Amazon Prime, just Prime Gaming here. That's how we keep this channel going. But we do need your help to make that happen. And YouTube's super chats or memberships on YouTube are also helpful as well. So let's go to our friend Lactoid. Thank you for coming through. I think we had a fantastic conversation all around. Like consensus building happening here. We love to see it. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. I think I basically got my entire closing out in my earlier rant. So thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate all of you so much. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Absolutely. Next, our friend Scott. Scott, yeah, I love it when we can build bridges. Yeah, this was, was a lot of fun, friend.
Yeah, I am a libertarian anarcho-capitalist. You can find me most times on YouTube or Twitter. Follow me, Fabian Liberty. It's pretty easy. And yeah, I don't really need a big closing statement or anything about this. I just, I agree with pretty much everything Lactoid said. And I did from the beginning on, the bullshit of it. I don't think it is interesting to find libertarians, in name, we'll say, that are so trusting of the DOJ and, the 3-letter agencies of government. And, obviously they did a good job because they have an R next to their name is a little silly to me. But, hopefully Cash and Trump, put their money where their mouth is, because there are a lot of criminals still out there. And, James Giller, criminal. Nathan Wolf, criminal. Neil Callahan, criminal. John Loesch, criminal. John Kerry's stepson, criminal. The real players involved are not even these names. The real players involved are the CIA and InQtel and DoD contractors such as Black and Vetch. And we need a full accounting of what occurred in the biolabs and in the way those things were built and the millions of dollars of taxpayer money that was funneled in those directions towards the Biden family. And I hope he doesn't pussyfoot out in the name of peace and restoring the economy. I hope he fucking, burns some people like they deserve.
Thanks so much. Let's go to our friend Corey.
Well, that was your not big closing statement, Scott. But I'm curious to know what the
just naming names. You know what I mean? Like I could go through their connections if you want. You know what I mean? Like,
Bobby, if you want the floor
again,
6
pages of notes here.
I believe you. But yeah, as always, this was great, entertaining, and informative, and bridge building, which is always lovely to see. And also as a sort of an observation, I never thought I would be on a panel and the phrase like, did you hear what Whoopi said would be uttered. That would never have crossed my mind. But I was happy to see it. But you could find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram. It's Corey Campbell, Cracky Magoo, Grade 1 Motorsports, Ali, Katya, Gibbs, Scott, Lactoid, all the pleasure. Love you, Prime.
Whoopi Goldberg is vile. Like, have you seen, like, I don't think you guys have seen many clips of her on The View, right? But like her entire time there, all she's been doing is protecting the powerful people, right? Especially her friends, right? Have you seen like this person, this liberal or whatever, right? This Hollywood star, that's her friend. And so now you're making accusations of them? Of course not. She did the same thing with what's this actor? I can always forget his name now. Passion of the Christ, and
Jim Caviezel or Mel Gibson? Or
Mel Gibson, right? When the charges came out, he's like, well, he's not anti-Semitic. He's like out there, saying that horrible things to that cop, right? And like literally have him on tape with the audio, right? And she said, well, of course he's not anti-Semitic. He's my friend. I know him. He's not racist. I know him. He also said some racist shit. But I know him. That was her argument. Go back later. She just keeps saying over, but I know him, right? And
Don't forget, she introduced him right before he was before he won the primary in 2015 as her
Joe
good
Biden?
and close friend on The View. No, Donald Trump.
Oh,
As
Donald
her good and close friend.
Oh yeah,
Kelly started having his politics that didn't agree with.
She
the
defends the
liberal
powerful all the time. She likes being within the circle, right? The social circle, the dinner party circuit, right? Like she loves it. And anyone in there who's nice to her personally, right? And who's part of the powerful, who's maintaining the status quo, well, of course they're good, they're kind, and anyone challenging them, well, then you're the problem.
My brother.
Fuck her.
My brother, just listen, my brother, just assume anytime a elite in Hollywood is speaking, that they are probably a narcissist and potentially a pedophile. And it will make your life so much easier if you just work off of that assumption that with that group of people, guilty until proven innocent. With everyone else, innocent until proven guilty. But if you're a Hollywood millionaire, I'm just going to assume until evidence suggests otherwise that you are a narcissistic pedophile. And your life will be so much better if you just assume it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Ain't no party like a Diddy party. Exactly.
The only thing I liked about Whoopi's because, and maybe Gibbs will feel the same way. She starred in the Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation,
True.
and she had a good character there.
Everything comes back to Star Trek.
Everything comes back to Star Trek. It applies to like everything. Well, anyway, sorry. Let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Yeah, first in closing, I think we need to take a moment of silence for the current press secretary. If there's one job that I don't want right now, it's that of press secretary. That shit has got to be fucking terrible. Also, I want to say, after the panel, your modern day political prophet, Admiral Gibbs, that's me, I'm going to be giving lessons on logical fallacy and fallacious arguments and how they differ from fellatio and which is better for the United States. Speaking of fellatio, I'd like to reiterate that this week another prediction of mine was made correct in the most literal and technical sense, and that was people on the left are getting in bed with Nazis. I couldn't have called that shit better if I protected myself, which I did. So perfect. I knew it was coming. Y'all are literally physically in bed with them, as well as I don't know, taking up their policies and trying to implement fascism is terrible. Much like the Wolf of Wall Street, my predictions are so scary accurate that I'd rather you people remember my misses because they're so goddamn few. Another one final pearl of wisdom. We'd all be much better off if we just minded our own goddamn business. I've got a big fan of that. I'm tired of all you nosy fuckers asking all these goddamn questions all the time. Y'all don't need to know the answers. And you can find me on all platforms as Admiral Gibbs.
Thank you so much, Gibbs. Kareem Jean-Pierre, KJP, the White House press secretary, she's Haitian. She is a disgusting human being, genocide apologist, right? Spokesperson for genocide here in America. Fuck her. She's a disgrace. I'm ashamed of her. She should be hounded. Because after this, of course, that's what she's done. She's going to be doing the whole book tour circuit. She's going to do the
universities.
No, not just universities. I'm thinking about cable TV. Maybe she'll get a job, right?
Would you want to be her right now, though? How awful would that be? That'd be terrible.
No. Fuck her.
She's gonna start a podcast and be the next Joe Rogan for the left. Come on, brother.
She's vile, right? And
I'd rather die.
And I bet you, like, watch in the black community, people try to launder her reputation. Like, well, we should be proud of her. I mean, she was the first like black female secretary or press secretary. That like looking at her identity, and then not the fact that she cheerleaded genocide. Watch that happen. Disgusting. I won't let it happen.
Awfully close to a meritocracy. That's you're getting really close. You're leaning further and further.
Well, fine. 1 second. What would have been what meritocratic? Like
you want her that you don't want to judge her for what she looks like, but on her actions. That's strong.
That would have happened to all the other press secretaries too, because for them and all the other administrations, right? They do like the same thing. Maybe not a genocide, but like
the flames when they endorse meritocracy. I thought we were all DEI.
I don't think it mattered. Well, I don't think that. Okay, so I'll leave that alone. We got to end the show. But anyway, fuck her. That's I'm there.
It's okay. America's healing. Trump's coming in. He's going to put a blonde with big tits.
Eddie's home.
Amen.
You know.
I hope
that's what
Fox
America
News
needs
does
to
that.
heal.
Fox News does that literally. Literally, Fox
they know
News
their
literally
audience.
just puts hot chicks on television. It's a bunch of old men. Hey, why not put a bunch of hot chicks on there and have them talk about politics? I'd rather listen to that, even if they're wrong.
I knew that about you. You didn't have to tell me.
Even if they're wrong.
Absolutely. Gotcha.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I dress too modestly to the point where, I have to actually like try to make arguments despite, most of y'all here thinking that I'm wrong, which I mean is fine. I'd rather it that way anyways. Anyways, thank you all. Thank you, Prime, for being a great host as always and, pointing out things about powerful people that we all knew. And then, thank you very much, Gibbs, for making it so I no longer have to fear that I'm in any danger of being the person on this panel that thinks about Destiny sucking dick the most, because he'll always have the #1 spot. And, thank you to everybody else on this panel for, being great debate opponents and, saying some interesting things.
To be fair, it was just convenient that it was Destiny. It could have been any lefty that was sucking Nick Fuentes' dick. It just
I'm
happened
sure the
to be
list
Destiny.
is long.
Thank you so much for
for legal purposes,
allegedly,
it is currently alleged that it's Nick Fuentes.
Alleged, you're right.
Yeah.
Legal purposes.
Also, one of the guys in my chat is simping hard for you, Kat. So,
Okay.
you should come to my chat, I guess.
What are they even saying? I'm scared now.
He's from Alabama. How bad could he be?
Oh boy. Let's leave that alone. I don't want the state to get mad at me. Let's go to Ali. Thank you, Ali, for being your friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Prime. I'm Sociologic on all things on the internet, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. You can find me there. But yeah, once again, I think Democrats need to take the whole left needs to take a hard look at itself and honestly reevaluate what the fuck the plan is for the next 8 years, because the next 4 years ain't looking great for us. So we need to get together and actually figure out what the fuck's going on, lest you want the other side to continue winning. But yeah, Prime, thanks for having me. Thanks for arguing with me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Sociologic. Ali, real quick. When you tell people what your name is, let them know how many L's are in Sociologic.
2 L's.
Yeah, because a lot of people search for you, don't find you because they're missing an L just because it's on the screen.
Scores?
Let people know it's like Sociologic with 2 L's. Let them know.
Yeah, Sociologic with 2 L's. Thank you, Sky. I appreciate it.
It's all right.
Oh, what did you forget? Gotcha.
I completely forgot to do self-plug. Sorry. Yeah, I'm Premier Katya on both X and also Blue Sky. Love you all. Bye-bye.
So much. Okay. Our friend Grid One, you were great. I really loved it. Again, I love the aggressiveness, right? Stand 10 toes down, right, on your beliefs here. We love to see it. No apologies, right? Like Lactoid and Scott never apologize, and they really should. They believe some heinous shit. But you don't have to. So thank you, Grid One.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and have these kind of discussions. I do all over the internet. I try and get on panels here and there, but I'm just an old retired guy and I'm opinionated. So, that's where else can I go but the internet? I think the topic tonight was actually really good, and I'm actually really impressed that the leftist actually admitted that what Biden did was wrong, and the amount of copium tonight was at a minimum, but I did get my fair share of copium, where I love the copium when it flows, and was not disappointed tonight. So I will enjoy coming back anytime you'll have me. I can be found on the internet technically I'm on Twitter and X. I rarely ever actually stream there. Mostly you find me on YouTube at An Unreasonable Man. And that is the @ is at grid1-motorsports on YouTube, and you can find me there. And I do 4 or 5 shows a week, and do cool stuff, talk about cool things. That's about it.
All right, thank you so much. And no worries, whenever I get the mic, I'm going to remind people that Joe Biden sponsored a genocide. I won't let his reputation be laundered by history. Not on my watch.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Our friend Aiko, I wish we got more from you today.
You just came to show the fresh cut, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, style.
That was it. Yeah. That was it.
Quick flex.
There were a lot of things I wanted to say, but they were more appropriate for an opening than for a closing. So I'll just say that I think I might have said it to you earlier, before the panel too, that this was. I don't think it can be overstated how bad this is, because I think that even though Hunter is certainly guilty of some of the things that he's been accused of, and would rightly go to prison for some of the things that he's done. That's not the biggest problem with this. The biggest problem is the sheer what I expect to follow. Because if he's willing to do this, I imagine that Biden would also be willing to pardon a bunch of other people who shouldn't be pardoned. And my problem with it is that a lot of the people that he's pardoning might be less guilty than Hunter, which is to say he's going to be in the long run denying us the opportunity to find out whether or not these people are guilty or not. Because like I welcome prosecutions against people because I don't think the courts are stacked. So if the DOJ goes after somebody and they don't have the goods on them, they're going to lose case after case. But if Biden pardons all of these people, then we won't have an opportunity to see that stuff play out. And that I'd rather let the court system grind its gears and show us whatever the truth is in the end. That's what the courts have historically been used for. That's what they're supposed to do. And I think a pardon takes that opportunity away from all of the potentially innocent people that if you believe that they're being unjustly persecuted, then we should let the courts play it out. And pardons take that opportunity away from us. I don't think the pardon power should be in the presidency as it currently is anyway. I think it should be out of the Constitution.
We didn't get a chance to address that, but I actually did want to work with that idea. Maybe we can address it some other day. But whether president should have power at all. We understand it's in the Constitution, right? You don't need a president going, it's in the Constitution. We got that, right? But should that be the case? Yeah, I think that's something we should explore. All right, I'm going to send you guys off to this woman. Yeah, I'm going to send you off to this woman.
That's her username, this woman.
Yes, indeed.
Well, they'll find
she's
out
just
if they
the one
stay.
that we're being sent to.
It might as well be.
Yeah,
It's the new that girl.
This one or that one. Yup.